reasoning? Well, the reasoning, of course, is Falcons are 1-4 on that map as well. And when it comes to Clubhouse, well, not the greatest stats for Falcons, but actually far and away better for w7m, despite it being a high-priority ban map for them. Falcons are testing their fortunes, testing their luck by selecting Clubhouse first up in this lower bracket elimination game. I'm excited for this one, Tim, because it's been a day of upsets so far. It has been some really, really good siege, and I hope that continues here, especially on the B stream after, of course, CAG got the win up the APAC.
There were certainly a couple of happy casters in the green room, I will say that. Dev came in with a big smile on his face. You were, of course, ecstatic at CAG. Look, I love Japan as much as anybody else, and yeah, absolutely fantastic to see the Cyclops boys going through. They're always a team that are in good spirits, smiling, and clearly enjoying the game. So I think it's a great thing to see them progressing at the tournament. You know, they've got a tough run in that lower bracket. Whether they can continue it on or not, we will see. Whether they can get to those live finals, not going to be easy for them. But let's have a look at these operator bans. They will be correct because Falcons are starting on the attack. So we have Thatcher. We've got a Kegel, we've got Mirror. It's all pretty standard stuff, really. The Thatcher, I guess, is a little bit more niche. You see a little bit less, but it's Clubhouse. And I'd say the same for Capitão. You don't tend to see too many Capitão bans until you get to Clubhouse. And then you wanted to protect that catwalk. You wanted to give your man up there a little bit of a chance, at least.
All eyes on Robbie. I think that has to be something
Robbie and Volts. Robbie and Volts for me, because Volts is -10 on entry. Volts has been really, really quiet for w7m, and we know how impactful a player he can be. So yeah, for everybody at home, it's definitely 2 players to watch out for, 1 on either side. And how are they performing? Their performances could really be a big swing factor in this game.
Alrighty, let's get underway. w7m defense first up on Falcons map pick of Clubhouse. 2 teams that, of course, do not want to go out at this point in the tournament, and that's what makes it so fascinating, is that for both of these two, this is not supposed to be the benchmark. You know, if you have like an APAC team that sneaks through, gets into phase 2, but they go out at this point, no one's surprised, no one's disappointed. You know, maybe it's even a good job you made it this far. That is not the case for either of these 2 teams. Falcons were so close to a top 4 appearance in Montreal only a few months ago. We know how good this roster has continued to improve. Unfortunately, Robbie has had a lackluster tournament, but hey, if there's ever a time to turn it around, it is going to have to be this series. These are my favorite matches, Tim, because you lose this, you go home.
Interesting use of utility there. We had the Vulcan canister on Blue Stairs window, which is, I think, just, you know, looking towards the potential for a rush coming in from Falcons, and w7m not wanting to suffer that. Lobin does take some damage, as does Robbie along the way. A little bit of a coming together from those 2, but Lobin decided, nope, I'm going to pop that Vulcan canister because there's a bit of pressure coming around this Blue Stairs area, and we know that Falcons are a team that will opportunity spot. If they think something's there available for them, they'll try and get in and take it, and as if right on cue, Xenox Volts, he's been -10 on entry. Make it -11.
Yeah, but it's not Robbie, so it's only one piece of the puzzle. Good opening kill for Jalad. Get rid of the Fenrir. And a good start for Falcons, although not for too long. They will not have that advantage. In fact, it now goes the way of w7m with Dalton and Lobin. And this little roam from w7m so far, not proving to be a negative, but also not a positive. Net neutral status at a 3 versus 3. I don't think Falcons will be too disappointed with the way things are played out just yet, but for w7m, in terms of the operators they've lost, they've already set their utility. It's not a big factor. And still, top red, Dash, wanting to continue this roam for w7m, highlighting their early aggression.
Interestingly, from Falcons, if we look at the lineup, they now don't have any option for getting the hatches open. They've lost those R-breach charges, so that's really going to slow them down. They've got 1 minute 15 left to go. They're going to have to push staircases and doorways here, Xenox. Whatever they've got, you know, maybe the Flores, if they find a soft wall somewhere, they can work a little bit of something. I'm thinking maybe Ash Rush spot from down main stairs or something. But other than that, they are really, really on the back foot at this point. They are facing up against the w7m team who have now pretty much got them back into the basement. They're aware of the one on top floor, and all he's doing is just burning more time here.
There is one logic bomb available as well for Hashem if they want the total confirmation of Dash coming down main stairs. But hey, Robbie aware of it, and 2 kills in this round. Timely for Robbie to kickstart things off, and an opportunity for Hashem. Can't find the kill from bot main over towards Moto. 30 seconds, Zoto canister thrown. But I think it's that Nitrocell in the back pocket for Dots that might have more of an impact towards the latter stage of this round.
Just going to take his position in behind the minibar there. See if he can just hold late into the round and have that big impact. Dots takes an awful lot of damage. Soto canister goes out to prevent the push from bottom main, but no, it's Doberkin. Steps in, manages to get 2. That was good stuff from Falcons. W7M, I feel like they've kind of... I don't want to say they've thrown away the round there. The push down main stairs was just really weak. It was really weak, really lackluster, not really prepared for being... You know, where else do you think you're going to be pushed from? You're going to be attacked from either bar or from kitchen corridor. Not really prepared for it at all. And I just don't think it was necessary at that point. 1 minute 10, your 2 men inside are going to be saying they're not pushing us yet, so you know that they're not heading down. The go time for the flank is they're bottom main, they're in blue, they're pushing us, they're attacking us. That's the go time, because that's when they focused elsewhere. And it was just kind of a, I'm just going to waddle down the main stairs and die. And it left, you know, everybody inside the site without that backup plan.
You're giving them time to be able to look for that flank if they're aware of it by any means. I think Dash just has to be a little bit more patient, really, in his positioning. When he's coming down main stairs, you don't need to take first contact. As you said, force the attacking team to hit site, to take those flights. 20, 30 seconds left. It's that mad dash scramble. That's when you want to come in on the backside.
By being on the top floor there, you're forcing Falcons to think. You're forcing them, more importantly, to choose. Do we take the 30, 40 seconds to clear this guy out, or do we just watch flanks? But when you've only got 3 of you, if one has to watch the flank, that then gives you guys in sight the 2v2 rather than the 2v3. So yeah, a little bit of a misstep, I think, from W7M there. We've said it's a map that they don't normally play, so
it's not.
There's a potential for us seeing things like this. Clubhouse, everybody's got to be able to play like, come on, that's not even down to the map, really. That's just general timing. You've got to get that right. But we move on. It's going to be round 2. They've gone to the bedroom and gym side of things, and we're going to have immediate attention paid towards that construction wall. So trying to just make this cash side a lot harder to hold on to.
I mean, the other part of it as well for W7M is I liked at least that they were on the move in the opening round, and they followed that up into the second. That was going to be my point, was now you can't just lose that first round and go into your shell and get too defensive and get too worried. Immediately on the spawn peak, Hashom dead, doesn't even get an opportunity. W7M 2 rounds in a row, showing that early round aggression, and this time it pays dividends by getting that early pick. And again, the extension over towards Red and Cash, pretty much typical when it comes to gym bedroom. Dodes, though, extending it even further by holding this rafters position, but here comes the Montaigne.
This is going to be critical for Falcons. How do they deal with the push of the Monty? They've got a frost mat up at the top of the stairs, so somebody from W7M is going to have to deal with that. Right now, they're trying to play that multiple angle. They want to get this player moving on the catwalk, but the movement is going to come from Volps. I said that they needed more from him, and he does a fantastic job of getting aggressive onto that breach, taking down Gelad, and just leaving them now in a 5 versus 3. This is the point where W7M, it's a little bit tricky for the one on catwalk, but the rest of them can start thinking more about sight than the extension. But you can guess Dodes is not going to be moved here. He's just going to front up this Monty because he knows that there's somebody on Overwatch, so he just keeps himself here for as long as possible, and there's only a minute to go. Yeah,
Dodes is doing really, really well here. The Montaigne can be quite frightening when it's right in your face. He holds on, but it does allow Robbie to eventually make a little entry in towards CCTV and just opens up the round in a pretty timely fashion. Still 40 seconds, so despite being delayed a little bit towards Garage for Falcons, they've found the 2 kills, they've opened things up a little bit, and they've forced the remaining 3 defenders back over towards the site, but guards is low. Robbie and Dov both need to still find some pretty important and impactful kills from here.
This army could be particularly important. No Kiba barricades left to deploy, but it depends just exactly where they are and what cover they're providing. 20 seconds left to go, and there is one in there in Gym. That's the one that I was looking for. It's making it difficult now for Falcons to use that window. The double comes in from Dash and Lobin, and surely with 9 seconds left to go, it's too much to ask of Robbie as Dash cuts him down, and that was a better round from W7M. They used the layers of their defense, and ultimately, yes, they lost 2 players out in Cash, out in Catwalk, but it didn't matter because they'd wasted over 2 minutes out there, and there was no softening up of the site, no getting rid of those Kiba barricades, no disrupting the defenders from their positions in there, and Falcons couldn't get it done.
It was a far and away better round of Siege as well, I think, from both teams, because I think the way that W7M continued to play, even after losing the opening round, down on the roam aggression. They get a spawn peak, then they find a second kill. They're holding far more extensive and powerful positions early on. Rafters extension over is not always quite typical. It'll mainly be that red and cash area of the map, maybe a little bit CCTV, but they do commit Dotas over there. But credit to Falcons. I mean, Robbie just comes in, finds 2 big kills, opens back the round. It's a 3 versus 3 with 40 seconds to go, Tim. It's anyone's round at that point. So you can find avenues for both teams there, and you can take positives for both teams there. But it is just w7m, of course, that walk away with the round. And if you do want to take a big positive, it's Robbie 4-1 to start. That's what Falcons need. I know that it's a team game. It is a team game. You want all 5 players. But his performance so far at this event has not matched previous events. And so there is room for improvement to come from him, which is going to help Falcons immensely.
Moving on then into round 3, it will be up to Cash and CCTV. So we're going to have the other top force out here from w7m deciding that they don't want to go back down to the basement. Yeah, it's kind of we get 2 different vibes from teams. Sometimes teams will have their preferred sites and they will give them multiple attempts to try and get them won. Other teams like their rotations and they will just go through those 3 sites in that order and they'll see what they win out of them and they'll just go back when they're on the next rotation. So your first site will be the 4th as well. But this time, we've got w7m deciding that a little bit more top floor action is going to be the key for them. They've got themselves positioned again, trying to use that extension here. They've got the Oryx of Lobin out over in Gym, just trying to force Falcons to solve problems, to go through multiple layers of defense before they can start getting aggressive to site. And it's the right thing to do in this case. They're looking at construction wall. Falcons can't go into construction until they deal with bedroom and Gym.
I'm curious to see for guards as well on that Montang. So far, the influence has been a little bit hit and miss, and it's Loben over towards Jim. That could, if he does walk on by through Jacuzzi, find a pick onto the Monty. So guards will have to be careful when he does make his entries in. His importance is very much high. If they're going for a con side push in towards Cash, you need that Montang. You can, of course, rotate over towards Rafters, but they've done no work on it. And you've got the Azami there as well. So this is going to limit the options for Falcons in this round.
Utility's been really good from w7m here. They've brought 3 lots of barbed wire, and it's just slowing Falcons down. That Monty particularly, it's like they've kind of predicted that's what they're going to be facing. A missed opportunity for Lobin there to slow things down. But again, we're at that 2-minute mark, and Falcons still haven't been able to deal with this roam.
No, but they have got a kill onto Dots. That's some kind of advantage, but Lobin continues to be the pest, and Dov will eventually fall to dash elsewhere. Lobin has to swing this, but he doesn't think about it. Maybe a chance to get the kill onto the Montang instead, who does end up falling, but so does Loben and Jim. Volts 2 goes down, and with that, a 2 versus 2 with 50 seconds, a little bit reminiscent to our previous round.
It's all the delay tactics from w7m right now. They're conscious of Falcons' opportunity spotting of them getting in there aggressively, and they're not going to allow that to happen. 35 seconds left to go, and this is the first time that Falcons are touching site.
They got another smoke as well. Jalad with the big pick onto Dash, leaves just Dota's top red. Good little angle though. Through that doorway, you will lose your life. Dotas will find an easy kill. The smoke, not quite blocking the entirety of the vision. And so therefore, because prone and Hashem, maybe that's a mistake. Gives a very easy shot over to Dotas heading into the final 15 seconds. A tap from Jalad to try and bait out the Azami, but Dotas is too experienced. He's not falling for it. He goes for a new angle. Now should know that he's committing to the plan, and very well, definitely now does know as Jalad gets up, now makes it a proper 1v1, but it's an easy headshot for Dotas. Always knew where Jalad was. w7m with a 2nd round in a row.
At the minute, if anybody's going to win out that situation, we know that it's going to be Dotas. Like we said, one of those top-rated elite players here at Six Invitational 2025 so far, based on his performance. But w7m again, they're trying that game. Falcons are playing into it pretty well. w7m wasting over 2 minutes with their extension. Barbed wire out there to prevent the push coming in. You saw it on both sides of the Jacuzzi breach. They'd predicted really well what Falcons were going to do, that they were going to look for that master side clearance. So there was nowhere in that Falcons could rush, that they could get aggressive, that they could go quickly, because they had to go through that utility. And w7m used that opportunity well to get themselves a couple of kills. The problem for w7m at the minute is whilst that's happening, they're losing the bodies as well. And yes, sometimes of course, you're going to lose a man or two along the way, but they're just losing a bit too much of W7M. They've done well to hold on to them 2 rounds, but they were certainly winnable for Falcons as well.
I agree wholeheartedly. I think that's something you could look at. Yes, W7M have won the rounds, but in those 2 rounds, neither of them have been comprehensive. They haven't been dominant defensive wins from W7M. A 3v3 and a 2v2 after a bit of a scrap and a brawl offside then opens things up to that vulnerability. But credit to W7M for then winning in those 2vx's and 3vx's moments. And so we get to go back to basement now, Church and Arsenal, where of course last time out, W7M went for the incredibly heavy roam up above. And we'll see whether or not they will employ that once again. Castle, and that's Stodez, well, who's having an absolute field day at a field tournament. Plus 40 on the KD coming into this matchup and deals with the Hibana, which is not ideal whatsoever for Falcons to lose the hard breach.
No, I think Falcons should have been prepared for that as well. They've got to ask themselves the question. That was the first area of engagement last time. It was Lobin and Robbie that were battling over that window. So to not expect maybe a little bit of attention there from W7M was, I think, a little bit naive of Falcons there, because it was exactly the same as they were set up last time. I think we're going to see less on the roam this time. As I say that, everybody is now down in the basement. And the reason that I say that is look at that utility that they've got on side W7M. 3 nitros. They are looking for those vertical kills if they can find them. You better believe it. So Falcons, they're going to have to be careful once they get themselves into kitchen. What they're already doing is the right way to deal with that. Rip up that floor. They've done it in kitchen corridor. The rammer's gone through there. It makes it very difficult then to play the nitros. We're going to have already explosions from underneath. Already angles being held. W7M want this verticality to be theirs.
3 nitrosols available for W7M, so very much playing into their hands right now. The Falcons, who can't do a whole lot more other than play into their own game plan through Robbie on the ramp, getting boogie auto breaches out onto the floorboards, open them up. Just pray that maybe you can find a pick. Maybe someone from W7M is a little bit displaced. Dash, there is one of the 3 nitrocells to make its first impact by removing Hashon from the server, and another big pick. It's the Blackbeard. So you think about, you lose your Hibana, okay, you lose a little bit of Hardbridge, now you lose the Blackbeard, you lose a bit of that entry.
All that Falcons have got left now, really, for this execution is the sense. Guard, it's going to be really important where they go in, where they use those gadgets. Right now, still opening hatches. They're going to have to try and create a little bit of space to get those gadgets out, and that will then maybe enable them to have a little bit of cover. But what's going to happen when they go down? There's still 2 nitros in hand. They're just going to get launched through that screen and detonated. So W7M playing into their utility game beautifully here, Jake.
Haven't even cleared out dummies either, and Guards overstays. He's welcome through the hatch. He will fall as Volps gets himself an easy kill. They don't have the Sens anymore, and quite frankly, they don't have a grasp on this round. It's W7M with certainly their most impressive performance so far of the map here on Church Arsenal. After that initial spawn peak, they all run back downstairs and they huddle together to close this one out. Robbie gets the NS from Dots as he's 5-2, and as great as he's been, his team isn't quite matching it right now as W7M with a 3rd consecutive round. And not just words out of the server, Tim, but also inside of the server. Volps with a couple of ZZs in the chat. He's not too excited by Falcons on that attacking round.
Look, you know, maybe Volps, he can talk, but maybe he should, you know, get some kills at SI before. Let's get yourself involved a bit more, Volts, first there. It's like that classic, isn't it? You know, GG easy when you've gone 0-5. Volts has actually had a good round there. He's got himself 3. He's on the board. And I'm sure he'll be bringing a lot more to this tournament before he's done. 3-1 for W7M then. I think a couple of them have been close. It could certainly be 2-2. I think there'd be a strong argument. I don't think Falcons have been good enough to suggest that they should have the lead at this point.
I think they've got to get off this Montang though as well. I mean,
yeah, it's not doing anything.
It's not working.
It's not doing anything.
It also slows them down, and it's Clubhouse. Clubhouse naturally is going to do that.
And they're leaning into it, W7M. We've seen them play the big barbed wire round. Now they're going to come along with 3 nitros. They know that it's going to come, so they're just going to keep launching explosives at him this time. And I just think W7M are using that utility game really, really well so far.
Yeah, Dash has been quite incredible so far in this game. 6-2. He's been the 2nd best player on the team throughout the tournament. You mentioned, of course, Volps, -25 KD, -10 on the entry. versus Robbie -21 and -6. They're both actually got the same EPS so far throughout Six Invitational, but both improving in this match, of course. It's a do-or-die game, elimination. Loser of the series will go home. Winner will move forward and take on Dark Zero later today, which I'm sure will be a fascinating match, whichever of the two teams that they will play. Robbie on the Maverick, over towards single con wall. And I think the Falcons right now, they've got to be far more ready for the spawn peaks, and this time they are, Tim. It feels like every round, w7m have been going for some kind of spawn peak, some kind of early advantage. Finally, Falcons ready, and Dash will lose his life.
Yeah, Falcons definitely read into that well, and that's going to be a big loss potentially. With the Bandit gone, if they clear out any of that utility, it's not going to be replaced. We spoke about the Nitros. One goes sailing out. Volps continuing that better day. Manages to find one onto Hasham. Level things up at 4 versus 4. 1 minute 45 left to go, and they're making a little bit of a mess of things here at the minute of Falcons. These walls are not opening quite as cleanly or quite as quickly as they might like. The ace comes over, starts to get that breach done, but we're at 1 minute 30 and they haven't even started playing in towards clearing Lobin yet.
And they've got 3 hard breaches as well. Like, I mean, this is something that should have been able to be dealt with by this point, just on the sheer number of hard breach, but it also shows the power of the Tubarao and those Zoto canisters and its ability to delay. And Guards has gone for a different approach. Now, he does have the diffuser, keep that in mind. Gym bedroom, so rotating away, despite them finally putting pressure on Jacuzzi. He's going to go the long route here with that diffuser in hand on the Blackbeard to help try and clear out this position towards Cash. 60 seconds, 4 versus 4 again. Everything on the top floor has been this mad brawl, this mad scramble, and this time Falcons find a pick courtesy of Jalad.
Going to be Volps taken down. Dots is there with one of his own, though, and they've not... They were so lucky, Falcons, then. They had not had anybody focusing on the potential for w7m to come out and get aggressive. They managed to shut it down with 35 seconds left to go. It's very similar to the last time they were attacking this side. They haven't softened up side. They haven't disrupted the defender positions. They haven't cleared the utility out. There is still a lot of work for them to do here with 20 seconds.
Now it's a 2v2 because Lobin's done his job over towards logistics. Dot's also able to stay alive inside a gym, but then eventually overwhelmed by Robbie, who's just putting the power. 8 and 3. 2 versus 1. Lobin, that's one. One more to go. 10 seconds now against Robbie, who is actually in form so far to begin this series. It feels like the Robbie that we know and love, but he's running out of time, and Lobin's in a great position now. No time for Robbie, unfortunately. Some wonderful hide and seek from Lobin, and w7m will claim another round where it's felt that super scrappy, super brawly on club, and Volps has given it to them in the server again in the chat.
Great intelligent play coming out of Lobin there, just showing that he's got that game sense about him. He knows that he just needs to survive. Falcons were a little bit unfortunate there. They still had a player down, and I often talk about downed players. You become a cam, essentially. You're in there, and you can still give that intel. It's kind of like your dying job. If you're down but not out, you can still impact on that round, but I just don't think that he could get the view through to exactly where Lobin was to give that information to Robbie, because with the way Robbie's playing today, he said he's been quiet through the tournament, but coming in 8 and 3, if he'd have got that call, he's in gym, you know he'd have been through there like a heat-seeking missile going for him. But ultimately, Lobin just playing it smart, keeping himself off the radar, keeping himself out of the line of view of that down player, not going for the kill as well. That's something else that a lot of players would be kind of baited into. Get that kill, get that intel away, you know, remove that possibility. But by doing that, it would have given them all the information that they needed. So really smart stuff from Lobin.
Well, it just feels like Falcons continue to also lose a lot of these 50-50s. Like, I mean, with so many of these 2v2s or 2v1s even, and these rounds have not necessarily been super clinical or clean. w7m, I think the aggressors in that, I think they're the ones that are setting that tone by trying to be aggressive early, spawn peeking, roaming, playing off-site, trying to take fights against Falcons, hence why we're getting a lot of the 2v2s and 3v3s, and Falcons have just got to do better in those kind of situations. When you're attacking on Clubhouse as well, and you're not having to go up against a 4-5 man strong defense, you've got to be able to find a better way to break through and win some of those rounds. I think you said it before, Tim, it probably could have been a 2-2 scoreline. Right now, this could have easily been even maybe in favor of Falcons if you just flip a couple of those fights around. But yet it's 1-4 and only one attacking round into the final round of the first half. They really need to find a second.
I think w7m are showing why they are such a good team. Ultimately, rounds of fine margins, great teams will win them, and more often than not, and that's what w7m are doing right now. So immediate pressure coming in from Falcons to lower garage. Rather than going for that master bedroom sided push that they did last time, they're going to keep this more default. They want to get themselves onto catwalk, then put a little bit of pressure on construction, open it up, sure, but get yourself the main breach, get yourself catwalk, and then start thinking about moving towards site from there. But saying that, we can see Robbie rotating around behind as well, and I think it is going to be more of a master bedroom sided effort.
Also feels like in terms of lineups for Falcons have been pretty one-dimensional a lot of this half so far. They haven't really changed up too much. It's like the Dockerby, it's the Thermite, it's the Montag, it's the Maverick, you know, and there's not enough variation in their lineups here to really offset w7m and make them second guess. All right, just over a minute left. A bit of a nothing round so far. I mean, Dodes is still just comfortably sitting in rafters as Dash poking away over towards Lounge.
Stop it, Dash! You're going to lose your life for nothing. Joad manages to take down Dodes, but they're not getting any movement, like you're saying. That's the big thing at the minute. Guards has been stood at that door for 2 minutes, unable to get inside, unable to challenge onto catwalk. Yes, they've got a kill. Yes, Dash is low health, but Falcons don't have any map control, and that's a bit of a problem. I think, I'm not too sure about that.
Where's Logan going?
I was just shouting out his intelligent play in the last round. I'm not sure that was that. He comes out of main door, just kind of stood around waiting, and gives himself away very easily. 5 versus 3 now. This is winnable for Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly, you've got to close this one out. It's the best advantage they've had really all half long, and now just down to Dash, who's down below inside a basement coming up through Secret in a 5v1. This will very much be a second round acquired for Falcons in a 1v5 post plant with basically 5 HP. Hashem will put this one to bed. The half is done. 2-4. It's a very nice half margin, I think, for both of these two teams. 2 attacking rounds on Club is fine. Yeah. I don't think Falcons will be too disappointed. They've certainly had their opportunities. They've had their chances. Falcons probably haven't grasped all of those.
I think w7m will be very happy with the way that's gone as well. Like you say, some close rounds there that could have gone either way. They've been able to grab a hold of them. I'm not sure what was going on in round 6 there. I think, you know, overcommitting to things like the run out from Lob in there. There's just no need for it, you know.
I'm just reading the banter in the chat. In fact, it popped up there very quickly. Volp's referencing the 0-5 score of Guards, who was giving it a little bit back in that round, which, you know, Falcons won a round.
Well,
I think
we expect
if w7m, if Volps is giving it when they're winning rounds, you know, Guards should be able to give it back, but he's also 0-5. So Volps has got the power card there. He's just like
the thing
Uno
is,
reverse.
It's part of the game, isn't it? If you're 0-5 and you go in there like, yeah, easy, like, it riles people up even more. That's like what I was saying about Volps. Like, you know, if you're having a quiet tournament, you're having a quiet game and you're the one getting mouthy, then it just riles people up even more because they just want to come back at you then. So, yeah, definitely. We'll see whether... I don't think that'll have much impact between either of these two teams. They'll be well seasoned to it and they'll get on with things. But we move on to Falcons defense. So let's see what difference we get out of w7m on the attack. It's going to be down to Church and Arsenal to kick things off for Falcons. Looking at their lineup, slightly different approach to w7m, who were bringing a lot of nitros on this site. They were looking for a lot of that verticality. That's not really the case here for Falcons. They've gone more for a delay tactic. They've got the FNATs, they've got the deployable shield, the barbed wire. They've got a lot of stuff that's going to need to be cleared out, that's going to create barriers for w7m. Look at this aggression coming out of w7m though. They've got the top floor. They're happy to keep pushing towards side. Super aggressive, and they get an opener onto Robbie as well. Falcons are reeling at the minute.
Volps on the blitz, really setting the tone as well over towards main stairs. You get that early pick onto Robbie, who's been performing incredibly well so far. You also get rid of the Warden and what he can be able to help defensively on the site. Great start for w7m, and I actually like to see the aggression that they had on defense being replicated now to begin on their attacking half as well. And that's something Falcons are going to have to be ready for. And now it's a 4-stack in basement. Never mind, make that 3 with that kill from Dodes, who's just lingering towards bot main. Guards will actually get his first kill of the game.
Welcome into things. Look, I like what w7m have done there. They've got aggressive, they've got that entry kill, and then they've pulled back from it. Dordes kept himself down at the bottom of main, but that was a conscious decision. He's on the Ash. He doesn't matter anymore. He's there to get kills, so they're not bothered about losing that operator. He gets a second whilst he's down there. That's perfect. The rest of the team have pulled back. Are they? Yes, they are. I was going to say, are they aware of the bandit upstairs with them? Guards just trying to get something going here for his team. What a beauty! We just said in the last round he was struggling to get on the board, and then he hits a shot like that. Hasham takes down Volps. Dash manages to get w7m back into this.
Yeah, Dash and Dots trying to recover this round for what looked like maybe a winnable moment for w7m to begin on their attacking half as the kit is going down from Dots. It's Dash now that needs to provide that cover and deny Hasham and Guards the ability to get over. Job done from Dash, and Dots is now up with gun in hand. But Hasham and Guards so slow, they never got moving, Tim. There was no pressure on this duo of w7m, now down to Hasham.
Yeah, they're just kind of waiting around, hoping that the attackers would stray into their lines of sight. Well, I've got news for you, Falcons. They're going nowhere. They've got themselves into a position to hold a line of sight, and that's what they're going to continue doing. And you've just found that out the hard way. I just think, look, there was mistakes on both sides of that there. That round was winnable by both teams. w7m, I like what they did earlier. I was just saying that as Falcons had their little comeback. But w7m got themselves in aggressively, got an entry, left orders at the bottom of main stairs, and then they retreated back and said, you know what? We're not ready for the rush yet. We haven't softened them up. We don't get into sight from here. So we'll start ticking boxes now. We'll start opening up hatches. We'll start the vertical work with the ram. And they retired back in order to do that, having had that advantage. Where w7m failed, where the mistake came, was not dealing with the potential of the flank. They allowed Guards to get up there. You know, how often do we say, bring a Claymore along and put it at the top of the set. Prevent that oil pit rotate and don't let them get on the backside. You can't always, worry about a shot that Guards has hit there. At the end of the day, it's a fantastic shot he's hit. You're not always going to lose that fight. It is what it is. But yeah, I just think they've let them back on, and then that's created this bit of panic. Guards has got one. They're on the... Where are they? And then Falcons, they recognise that. Blood was in the water, and they went at them and got a good couple of kills. But then the counter mistake, Falcons allowing that diffuser to go down and then nowhere near aggressive enough in the retake, just led to them losing the round.
Yeah, and it feels like so far in this match, something that w7m seem to try and acquire, or seem that what they want to do is have this early scrap, this early fight, and then it becomes that 3vx or 2vx or whatever, and then there's that second fight at the end of the round. And it seems like to me that w7m backed themselves in to win these 2v2s or 3v3s. When there's less bodies inside of the server, they feel as if they've got a better grasp on winning those fights, and that's when they have been winning the vast majority of their rounds. If you think about the rounds that Falcons have won, they've won them either flawlessly or convincingly, or they've won them because they've won that initial battle too extensively. Otherwise, all of the 2vx's, all of the 3vx's, w7m are winning these clutches. They're winning the late round fights. Falcons are just not getting any kind of hold on the latter rounds when they're fighting down onto the site. 20 seconds left, 2v2. It's w7m every single time, and that's why they've built up this 3-round buffer. 5-2, even though they're on the attack. w7m, they're not too far away from being able to steal this map pick of Falcons.
That's nearly lit the jeans of Volps on fire then as he went past. Nearly caught the blitz with the blowtorch. But I was just going to comment on Dots actually. His Maverick work really clean there. We saw from Falcons, I commented on it at the time, the hard breaching was sloppy, and that included the Maverick. It was just kind of a bit of a mess. Whereas look at the great job it shows. It's a skill in itself is this, and he hasn't been able to drop the reinforcement yet. He's run out of cannons. Just I'm saying that, Dots. What are you doing to me? He was right down to the wire there, as you can see. He really didn't have much left when he started that. It was always going to be a little bit of a gamble, I think, as to whether he managed to get that open or not. But it is going to mean that Jacuzzi Wall will stay close. They can use those lines of sight to cut off rotates, but that's going to be as much as they get out of it. And I feel like w7m, they're just stalling out a little bit here, Jake. They've not got inside the map where they want to, but as I say that,
yeah, big pick. On to Robbie again, who I don't even think has fired a shot so far in the second half on defense, twice losing his life to begin the round. That's 2 opening deaths for Robbie in a row. Gelando, 2 big kills, pistol out, unsuccessful from the blitz of Volps, and now down to a 3v2. Not a lot of time remaining as well for w7m. So Dash and Loban down a player. These are the kind of rounds, though, that they've certainly been able to salvage at various points throughout this map. Falcons must hold strong. They don't have a lot of utility, but they've got numbers, and they've certainly got site possession. Big kill again from Jalad. He went absolutely nuts in that round.
Really well played from him. I like the position that he held in behind the keeper barricade as well. Absolutely beautiful stuff. Just getting aggressive there and holding that position, because you know as soon as the keeper barricade gets knocked out, bang, you're going to have an opportunity right there in front of you, and he ate it up. Good stuff. So Falcons much better on their second defensive round, managing to lock it down. It was a little bit wobbly on the first down in Church and Arsenal. It could have gone either way, but Falcons, I think, will feel that there's at least something for them here. They'll be looking for
7.
I think God's made a little bit of a mistake there. He said 7-3 incoming. And I
W7
think
and we're like, okay.
Yeah, they were like, yeah, that's fine. That's no problem. Yeah, that's not really a threat. So then he corrected himself. No, 7-5. It was like, Gods, it's too late. It's gone.
It's one of those games for guards. He's 2-7. He's also got the prediction wrong as well. Honestly, for Falcons, they're on defense, right? So they have to have that mindset that they can certainly string rounds together. You can do that on defense club. It's only 3-5 now, so that 2-round differential, nothing too extraordinary. Of course, they've still got to be largely perfect from here. Otherwise, W7M, they get that 6th round. They've got that little buffer because they got OT at minimum. But I think Falcons on defense, as long as they play a little smarter. And also, Robbie has not been involved here. Like, we've played 2 rounds now in the second half, and he was tremendous in the opening half, 9-3. He was being able to get a lot of kills for Falcons. Dead in the first round, dead in the second round. He hasn't fired a shot. Now he's playing the Capcan, at least instead of the Warden, so at least with the EDDs, he can provide some value, even if he dies early.
Falcons are going to go back down to Church and Arsenal. It's kind of the opposite of what I was talking about earlier. W7M, they were intent on going through their rotation, whereas Falcons, you know what? They're happy to skip out CCTV cash and head back down to the basement. But how about this? Talking about heading down to the basement, Lobin's walked right in. However, W7M are getting ahead of themselves, Jake.
Well, I mean, the fact is they kept walking through. They got that opening pick, and if they wanted to, they could have maybe called off the rush, went back upstairs. Instead, they just forced the issue into the site to get an LOL from Dov in the chat because they're wondering, what in the hell was that? I mean, I was wondering, how the hell have you got that entry in towards blue 10 seconds into the round? But, like, the response from Falcons was swift immediately. They were ready to answer back to that early aggression from W7M. It feels like a machine that is learning throughout this match. Falcons are starting to understand these guys are aggressive, really, really aggressive, but they're starting to catch on. 4-5, timeout, W7M, as Falcons win 2 in a row.
Yeah, Falcons were well prepped to that. I feel like there was maybe... It's a tough one to call. Obviously, hindsight's a wonderful thing, as we always say. You know, is there a point there where W7M maybe need to call off the rush? They're inside of dirt, and the 3v4, I think it was at that point. You've kind of got that opportunity to say, you know what, we've got a Monty here. Let's just back out behind that shield. Let's go back to the drawing board for this round. We've got another opportunity, but instead they persisted with the attack. And sometimes, yeah, you've just got to commit to it, and you know, you win it or you lose it, and it's all on that decision. But ultimately, it was this was the big. They just not dealt with top floor at all. It was like they've not bothered looking. Yeah. You know, rushing is one thing, that's fine. If you're going to rush, you've got to rush to site. You can't just rush in through main door having not droned it. Yeah. What do you think is going to happen? The rush has all got to come at the same point. You've all got to be committed to the same thing. So W7M, I don't know what's gone on with them that round, but it was a weak round.
It felt lustful based on that first kill through blue. You get that first kill and it's like, you know, that light bulb moment.
Yep.
But you're right, they had nothing above it. Even if they had have been able to clear out most of that site, go for the kit, you haven't got kitchen hold, you haven't got main stairs hold. It's an easier retake option as well for Falcons. So I felt like Falcons had more to gain, and they certainly did. 4-5 now.
The thing is, I think if W7M just play a patient game, I don't think Falcons can win this. I think if W7M get themselves into positions, they will get entry kills. Yeah. They will pick Falcons off. Falcons are the sort of team that will have a peek. They will have a look. They will give you the opportunities. And I think W7M just kind of need to let them do that. Rushing into site, that's right in Falcons' wheelhouse. You know, reacting, just taking those fights, getting those kills. That's where they're going to do the best. So for me, take 2 minutes. Take all their utility away. Get a couple of kills. Get them in a 4 versus 2 on site, and all of a sudden it's a different ball game.
Yeah, W7M have had 5 rounds where they've got the opening pick. In 4 of those rounds, it's been before the 2-minute mark.
Yeah.
So they've been really, really aggressive in the early portion. Falcons, in this half, have not had an opening kill. Despite that, though, Tim, 2 rounds in a row they've now acquired and won anyway. So there's still room for improvement for the defense of Falcons. 4-5, and suddenly this map is certainly getting interesting. Again, it's the map pick of Falcons, as we kind of discussed preemptively before this match started. Neither of the maps that we have for this series are these teams' best maps, and I think we're seeing a little bit of that, to be completely honest, but it's also making it very fascinating and fun to watch, as Jalad has certainly been impactful. Robbie had a very, very good first half, yet to find a kill in the second half, though. And it all starts to feel a little bit tied up. 90 seconds into the 10th round. A little bit slower pace this time from W7M.
Exactly, and it's what I wanted to see. Go in and soften things up. They're not going to worry about Catwalk here. Monty's on the other side, but now Volps, a minute and a half, can start just bullying a little bit. He's going to see he needs to be careful with his positioning, but he sees his man, he survives, not a major problem. So now you can think about getting this wall open. The nades are coming over, they're looking to clear out the utility. It is still electrified, so they might have a problem in doing so. Just looking across what utility they've got remaining, nothing to deal with that electrification. Could be a tough one. They're going to have to use the Maverick, and this is the problem with using the Maverick. But Lobin manages to open it up with 1 onto guards. 45 seconds. Time could become a factor for W7M.
Yeah, super aggressive from guards. I think he just wanted to try and find that kill onto Dots, which, well, a couple of seconds later, Robbie has been able to do. First kill for him inside of the second half. Daylight's going to fall. That gives the advantage back over to W7M, and this Montang continues to get incredibly aggressive over towards top red stairs now, and, well, it's a double stack there as well. Hasham, Dov, both close by. They've lost Robbie. Good little peek from Hasham. Dov with a good kill too, and now all down to him. He's the only one remaining, and he's got the Montang that does need to be dealt with. Lobin as well. Lobin shouldn't get ultra aggressive, but he does anyway. Playing behind the Montang. Goes and gets the kill. I thought for a brief moment if he got overly aggressive there and lost his life, that could have been winnable for Dov in a 1v1. W7M back on top, and they've got match point now here on Clubhouse.
That's the difference that I was talking about. So you can lose a round in 40 seconds, or you can win it in 2.5 minutes. And I think the answer there for W7M is just take your time a little bit more. Get yourself into that position. Bully Falcons. Push them around. Volps did a great job there. I know I've spoken about his entry and, you know, his involvement through the tournament so far. Been a little bit quieter than we might normally expect. But shield play, absolutely fantastic there. Got himself in. Made a real nuisance of himself. Having that Monty pushing top red, it's like playing with a wasp in the room. They just are not going to be able to concentrate.
I thought that was the best round
Brilliant stuff
that we've seen from shield play from a Montang in this match so far, and it really determined the round for W7M. So 2 opportunities, 2 match point opportunities now for W7M to take the map pick of Falcons. Consulate to follow after this. Puts them in a really good position. It's been a bit of a scrap. Like, this has not been probably the best from W7M. I think they can play a little bit better. I also think Falcons can maybe play a little bit better. But there's so much on the line. It's an elimination game. There's those stresses, those nerves for these players. You don't want to make a mistake. You don't want to underperform here because there are no second chances. There's not a lower bracket. This is not groups anymore. You lose this series and your time at the Six Invitational is over. So who's going to stand out now for Falcons? They're on defense club. 2 more rounds to send this to overtime. Delad and Robbie have been great. Can they get more from others? I mean, guards has been playing that more supportive role. You're probably not expecting him to frag out, but maybe a Hasham, who I think can provide that little bit more firepower.
That's all it takes sometimes, is just that one player to just get that extra little bit. We talk about support players, we talk about RGLs, and obviously we expect less of a contribution from those players. But I think in Modern Siege, for those players, we need to be looking around about a 0.8 KD at least. You know, you need to be having those contributions. So like you say, just a little bit quiet. If guards could get somewhere closer to that sort of area, it could be the difference maker for Falcons here. As it is, W7M working well already to take away those extensions. I like this use of the Candelas to try and prevent the tricking coming in. It is going to force guards away, but they haven't got the wall open alongside it. He's very concerned about that gym window. In fact, W7M have just dipped away here. They've no exothermic charges left, so I don't know what's gone on there. Whether they've opened one up on CCTV side, I can only assume that they have been tricked, or they've not cleared it when he's gone to place it. I don't know exactly what's gone on, but they've lost it one way or another, and that's really sent W7M back to the drawing board.
And the kill onto Loban as well, quite effective. You get rid of the Deimos, those death marks, which can be really annoying on Gym Bedroom when sometimes you have to play in these more open spaces. You're playing behind weights, you're playing behind the mattress, for example, and that death mark is pinging your location. It's never a great feeling. 60 seconds, Jacuzzi still reinforced. This does feel like it has been a really good round for Falcons so far. Only just now is W7M opening up the main breach of Jacuzzi. They've still got Dash over towards the window outside of Gym, so don't get me wrong, there's still pressure from W7M and still a winnable round, but Falcons really are in a good position. They've just got to hold on, keep these positions, get that next kill, and it should be their round.
Robbie's going to be really important here because they're almost certainly going to try and execute behind the 3 Candelas that they've got left. Volps and his use of those is going to be an important part of what happens in the late round here, and Robbie on the Warden, of course, can prevent that from happening. Guards will be taken down. They've managed with the Maverick, I think it is, or the Ace, to get that wall open so they can start applying a bit of pressure there, but it's just too late in the round. It has taken them so long to deal with that electricity. In goes, there we go, exactly the combination that I said, but Robbie, you needed a better performance than that. 2 versus 1, 9 seconds left to go. It's unlikely Volps could win this, but with time ticking by, Falcons are just going to keep themselves out of trouble here. Last call comes in from Jalad. That's an ace on him. But what is Robbie? Robbie, he's on the Warden. He's the perfect player to deal with that Ying, and he misses his shots.
What was Volps doing in that round, though? I mean, you've got everyone pushing in towards Jim's side, and he's still on the roof before he even drops in towards Logistic with the Candelas. He's not aiding his team. It feels like he's a solo play. And even in the chat right now, it's Falcons that are giving it to Volps. And they're like, what are you doing? What is the Ying doing in that round? It's certainly a factor that goes against W7M. And it keeps Falcons alive and afloat. And for Jalad, an ace. More charity for Jack.
2 today.
2 today. 15 kills for Jalad. You know, the interesting thing is I always try and spread the load a little bit in the previous round. I'm like, guys like Hashram, can they stand up? Because you've got Jalad and Robbie, they're playing well. If those guys keep playing well and even go to another level, like Jalad, who's 15-6 now, that also does suffice. One more round required for Falcons. On Defense Club, they get to go to Church and Arsenal.
Look, sometimes it's
tough. Could be going to overtime.
Sometimes it's tough for someone to get kills because somebody else on the team is hoovering them all up. And
that's always my problem.
What, I'm still struggling to get them?
Yeah, I can't get the kill. Someone else is always getting them all.
Guards right now, I think he's seeing a little bit of that, like you say. Jalad, Robbie, Dove, all doing fantastically well between them to keep Falcons in this. So we go to round 12. We will see what happens here. W7M, they've tried both. They've tried the rush. They've tried to play it slow. Falcons in both circumstances have been able to find answers. I feel like W7M just took far too long over Jacuzzi Wall last time. So this round, we're looking at them to recognise what are your main problems, what are your areas that you need to clear, and focus on those as a priority. Don't leave it until 20 seconds to be breaching that hatch or ripping that floor up. Make sure that you are preparing. You need a clear picture. What is the execute? Where is the diffuser going down? What do we need to remove to enable us to do that? And you basically work backwards through that list. I
mean, Falcons are taking a very comfortable and safe approach for this round too. It's a 5-stack down below. It doesn't seem like anyone's in a position over towards Secret or wanting to push up top main stairs or anything like that. Maybe guards a little bit. You can kind of just see down below. He's over towards bar now. So he has opted to make that decision to go for a rotate from basement up main, and it works out. And that's diffuser. I don't think that's going to matter too much. You're not going to go and suddenly go play off of diffuser in towards bar. But he does rotate top main rather than bot main. But here comes the response. Dash getting rid of Robbie. That's nice. But Guards has had an incredibly influential 15-20 seconds from someone that was getting basically made fun of before for being 0-5, might just send this game to overtime. Volps on the shield as well. isn't exactly bringing firepower that W7M need right now, down 2-4 in this round. Overtime is looking like a sure thing, Tim.
I mean, W7M have got a lack of drones. Fair enough. Falcons have done a great job of that. They've taken 7 of them out, add another one and 8. But they are walking into the map, and Guards is just strolling around main stairs. He's literally just strolling around, finding kill after kill. And the problem with that is, when he gets the first in bar, you can argue, right, they didn't know he was there. He's slipped the net, he gets in and gets a kill. But how can you let him get 2 more? Guards is on for an ace here. He's managed to get 4. He's looking for the last. Can he find him? He's gone to the pistol. He's going to pick his teammate up. This could be back-to-back aces. The first was Jalad. The next could be God.
Got it.
And it is back-to-back aces for Falcons to keep them in this. And you've got to ask questions of W7M there. You've got to ask questions. How have they let him get away with 3 kills in 20 seconds all around bar? The first one you can forgive. The second and third should know that he's there. This one, fine. But how does he get another? They're not even looking at him, Jake.
No. You know why? Because they probably thought he went back down towards basement. The usual approach is you find that kill bar, you rotate back down below. Guards, though, opted for more aggression by going back up. Then they're coming back down again for another strike. 6-6. And it's double OT defense for Falcons. They've really flipped this map around. It was a 5-2 lead in favor of W7M, and Falcons have put themselves certainly in the driver's position, but what an ace from Guards, who was 2-9 going into that round. It's why you should always believe and always have hope and never get too tilted on having a bad game. You never know when it's your moment, Tim. You never know when it's your time to shine.
So true. So true. I think we've probably set a record there as well for the most expensive 2 rounds of Siege that Fresh has ever watched in his life. Charity is laughing today. They are having a great day.
I think W7M, though, won't be laughing with the way that this map has really gotten
They're
to.
on the ropes
They're up
right
6-4, they're up 5-2. Like, they've been kind of always in control throughout this map. Falcons have been thereabouts, pecking away, but it's been W7M largely in control. They've been getting a lot of opening kills. They've been able to get a lot of spawn peaks. They've been aggressive, and Falcons have just found a way over the last 2 rounds to subvert losing their opening map, and now they get double defense as well on overtime as we get underway in OT.
That's the key factor for Falcons here. Obviously, it's been 4-2 halves in both directions for defense, so we do see the advantage of that coming in. Church, Jim have been the 2 successful sites. For Falcons, it's not been a mixture of the 3, so they can just avoid CCTV essentially here, and they can just go to Gym and Bedroom first, and then Church and Arsenal. They did lose Church and Arsenal back in round 7, their first defense, but other than that, they've looked solid throughout. W7M are doing better work here though. Remember last time they attacked onto this site, it was 20 seconds to go when they were getting Jacuzzi wall open. This time, they haven't messed about. They've got the exothermics on there, they've got a nice big breach that they can work through. There's no real excuses for W7M here. They're making really good early progress. They haven't dealt with cash and construction yet.
No, they haven't.
They may choose to, they may choose not to. They could push from Jacuzzi and Gym window, but there is a risk inherent in that you get hit from the window, and I think that's exactly what's just happened. Dover manages to pick up Lobin on that Gym window.
And it happened last time on this side as well, so 2 times on Gym Bedroom. They don't get the Deimos, they don't get the pressure of the death marker. Good advantage for Falcons for the 2nd time in a row on this particular site, as Jalad has also been really, really good in these more aggressive positions, playing around Bedroom, playing off of these keeper barriers. It's being annoying for W7M to try and find an early pick and open things up, and like you said before, they still haven't dealt with red, they still haven't dealt with cash.
W7M have 0 drones left as well. They've all been taken out. Falcons have been doing this consistently, just removing the intel away from them. So for the last 30 seconds now, W7M are going to have to push in blind. Robbie manages to get 1, Dover a 2nd, and this is a great advantage now as they find Volts down as well. Falcons running away with the round. Guards with a double, and that is Falcons getting themselves into the lead. 7-6, removing that intel game from W7M. Fantastically really well. And w7m having no choice other than to go in, base check, see what's ahead of them.
They couldn't do anything. They were completely caught out of the map. They had no map control. They were obviously focused on main bridge, get Jacuzzi opened up. But ultimately, when it came time to fighting and trying to push in, it was already far too late. They were losing every battle. And again, losing Loban for the second time in a row on that site. You don't have the Deimos on those death marks. And we saw guards in the chat actually asking no more words over towards Volps. Volps says no. 7-6 to Falcons, and all that trash talking from w7m and Volps in the chat is coming back to bite them here, as Falcons now have got overtime at match point, and they get 2 opportunities, one on attack and one on defense if they fail here in this round. Church Arsenal coming forward for w7m. They must win this round, and it's dots onto the clash.
This is it. You know, all the talking is fine. The mental game is a very real thing, but it works in both directions, and sometimes can be a distraction. And sometimes you've just got to focus up. So I'm not saying that's the reason why things are happening here. Falcons have actually played some really good siege over the last few rounds. They've gotten
better as the game's gone on.
They've read into what w7m are doing. It's like they've just needed, you said it yourself perfectly, Jay, it's like this machine learning almost. Like, you know, they're in there, and as each round goes by, they're getting the flavour, they're getting the vibe, they're picking up on exactly how w7m are playing. And right now, it's like they've got the book in front of them. They're just, you know, the Falcons are just reading from the script as to exactly what they're going to do. I love this clash that's been brought along on the side of w7m, but they need to be careful they don't lose it. It's a perfect way of dealing with the Blackbeard and the Monty. The Monty is gone 4 versus 3, 3 versus 3 though, as Hasham starts to bully them from dirt.
They could slow it down a little bit, Tim. There's 2 minutes. They don't have to keep this pace going. You've got the clash that's blocking off the dirt push, so you can rotate back out of that if you want. If you Hasham, you don't need to force the issue here. Yes, Dots is low, but look at the amount of time still remaining. Like, Hasham is acting as if there's like 30 seconds left, and you're desperate. Force yourself back out of this position. Rotate, move away. Yet Dots having to move around the map as well, but it has allowed the push in towards blue because the clash was towards dirt and deep into dirt, and will stay inside of dirt as well because Falcons have swept through the back and taken the site, now getting the plant down, and only Dots does remain. Guess what? Coming out of dirt.
Clash is trying to get anything going that he can, but there's absolutely nothing. Guards is in behind, takes him down with the pistol, and that is going to be Falcons grabbing the first map. It was their map pick. They had to fight to hold on to it, but what a turnaround and what a performance we've seen from Falcons over those last few rounds. It leaves w7m with their heads in their hands. There are questions to be asked by the Brazilians in the break. This has been a tough tournament for the Brazilians over the last couple of days, and it looks like it's not getting any easier for w7m.
It felt like Dots had this almost super locked in mindset on dirt, and it's like everything else on site didn't matter, and it was really well played from Falcons because Hasham's like, hey, he's following me out of dirt. You can go through blue, you can come around the backside. They're not even going to be ready for it. The blitz comes through, easy flash onto the Azami, kill, site control, plant down. Really well executed from Falcons as they take the opening map here in the lower bracket. w7m, the Montreal Major champions, are on life support. If they lose the next map, they are out of the Six Invitational. Short break on the other side. We'll see on Consulate if w7m can bounce back.
Ouais, choc-les, choc-les, ouais, choc-les, 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 ouais, voilà ce qu'ils me disent, les entends parler et ils maîtrisent, j'arrête que pour rafler la mise, petit pas sur la piste, et le succès je l'ai pisté, disent que la place du premier fait monter la côté, sur moi tu mises gros, tu connais déjà l'équipe, ça criera au complot, je prends le double, on est quitté, je fais la magie des chiffres, La somme je la triple, la concurrence la dribble. Et le stade est en délire, ça fait choquer. J'arrive pour tous les choquer, toute la foule elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es accroché, accroché. Gauche, droite, esquive les rageux. Coach m'a rajouté du temps de jeu. Dans l'action, ouais je me sens en feu. Je suis on fire, fire. Je fais la différence au compteur. Money time, ça shoot sur le buzzer. Je suis on fire, fire. Choqué, j'arrive pour tous les choquer. Toute la foule elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es accroché, accroché. Choqué, j'arrive pour tous les choquer. Toute la foule elle est choquée. J'espère que t'es accroché, accroché.
There are many great players who are not champions, who have never lifted the hammer, who might never lift the hammer. And it's not because they aren't good enough, they just might not put in what it requires to really get there. Because they are the goods and not the greats.
There is not 1 hour of the day where your mind can be off siege. You have to sacrifice everything to win.
If you were to win any event and call it quits, it would probably be the Six Invitational.
Chegar no topo uma vez, então assim foi um momento de muita emoção.
The Invitational is, the kind of the final checkpoint, the final test, and it meant the world to me.
History will be made here because for the first time on home soil, a Brazilian team will win a world championship.
The only thing that matters is the 4 guys next to you, your coach, and the screen in front of you.
No one ever really just goes and wins. You have to go through the pain, the hardships.
Phase are exploding!
You have to go all in, that's it.
Quem perdeu foi nós tudo ali, e a gente que vai virar isso aqui agora.
Você tem que confiar muito no seu time.
Não vamos desistir, não vamos desistir.
And brought it all the way back!
Fácil demais, porra!
When you truly want to become the best, you truly have to believe that you are, because you have to play it 100%.
Team Rainbow. Carries Legion. Listen up. Hereford Base is now under our control. But we're not giving it up without a fight. Remember the mission. And do not let anyone stand in your way. Every action you take will be the difference between victory and defeat.
So Falcons take the opening map here in the lower bracket matchup against W7M. 8-6 on Clubhouse, and what was a battle of back and forth. You know, W7M, I felt like definitely got out to the better start. They had a 5-2 lead as well, Tim, an early attacking round 2 in the second half, but credit to Falcons. They fought back incredibly well, winning 6 of the last 7 rounds. That is how dominant they got towards the end of the map, taking it out.
Yeah, it was a real kind of slow burner of a game to begin with. It was like, you know, we had quite a bit of chat going back and forwards between the players, and it was kind of ambling along, and then all of a sudden the chat kind of stopped a bit, and everybody,
well, from one side,
everybody kind of locked in, and it was like, hang on a minute, we're in a real match here, and it got. I mean, we had back-to-back aces. How often do you see that?
Yeah.
Not very often at all. Falcons needed 2 rounds to get to overtime, and Jalad and Guards got an ace in both of them. It was absolutely unbelievable stuff. They take us to overtime and just fight and continue winning against W7M, who, to be honest, had no answers at the end there. And moving on to Consulate, you got to be a little bit concerned for the Brazilians because it's not a map that they normally play. We said this at the beginning. Both of them seem to pick up maps that they just thought the other one didn't like, but that could be a big risk.
Yes, Consulate to come after this. W7M have not won this map at least since September of last year on the record books. So that is something that they will have to overturn against Falcons. Now, admittedly, Consulate for Falcons is a 1-4 record in the same time frame. So again, it goes back to what we were kind of discussing in the pre-show. Like, these are maps that fundamentally neither of these two teams are necessarily amazing on. And in a different series and a different matchup, they might not even want to go to these maps whatsoever. But sometimes you get these like weird like cases where for both teams, they're just in the same situation. They have a very similar map pool. So instead of going to the strengths of the both, they go to the weakness of both of them. So 8-6 club won by Falcons. At the very minimum, they will see Skyscraper if they cannot get the job done on Consulate. If W7M, though, can't find a win on this map for the first time in a good couple of months, they're out of the Six Invitational, Tim. At this point in the tournament.
And who would have had that on their bingo card coming into this morning, coming into this week, coming into this tournament? We were all shaping up for W7M to potentially have that run and go all the way through to the real big games at the end of things. But right now, they look a little bit weakened. They look a little bit off the pace. And they look a little bit vulnerable at the hands of Falcons.
Yeah, I mean, you have to say it that way, don't you? But for W7M, as they come into this, still the fans are on their side when it comes to the social prediction. It feels like the start of this first half is going to be oh so important. You know, if W7M find themselves in a bit of a hole, will they have that mentality to get themselves out of it? Into the ban phase we go, and Ying is such a classical ban when it does come to Consulate. It doesn't really matter who the teams are for the matchup. Ying is usually one that's taken off the board really early.
Amos is going to be our next ban coming in. We've spoken, you've spoken very eloquently about the value that can be found out of Demos. Real operator to bully people with, to find that verticality, to make it a living nightmare to stand in one spot. Kaid will be our first defensive ban. These bans are reversed. Falcons on the defensive side, on the blue side, so it means our UI bug kicks in. And they are reversed, so at the minute this will be Falcons' second ban. They have taken out Ying. W7M take Demos and Kaid. And Falcons will bring in our final defender ban, which will be Fenrir. We've got a little bit of an unusual set of bans there, to be honest. We've got Azami still up. We've got Valkyrie still up. We've got Mira still up. All available. The Ying makes perfect sense. We don't see too many Ying bans, but Ying utilised quite a lot here on Consulate, thinking particularly around the window play. But yeah, a little bit of an unusual one there.
Well, these are always my favourite matches, but also my favourite maps, because now it comes down to this. Essentially, 2 best of 1s for W7M. If they want to continue at Six Invitational. And, you know, I kind of class them as the team. You know, Tim, when I think about, like, oh, who are the teams that can win the whole event? Who can lift the hammer? I'm never someone that likes to just say one team, because I don't think there's ever just one team. There's usually like a group of teams that you might list as like tier A, tier B,
this year, it felt like there was about 10.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I'm going with this, is like W7M, we're in that conversation.
100%.
They're in that bracket. They just won Montreal. They made the grand final at EWC. They've been building really nicely towards this event and really making a name for themselves under this organizational banner, stepping out of the shadows a little bit, of course, of that former W7M roster, now Furia. To go out like this, I feel like would be such a sour note on the campaign over the last 12 months. To build to this, for it to end in this way, certainly is not something that they would be happy with. So I'm hoping W7M come out swinging here on Consulate, and they will have to do so in the first half as they are attacking, Tim. So they're going to have to be coming out swinging. They were aggressive on Club. You can be even more aggressive on Consulate.
Immediate aggression coming out of Dovahkiin as he manages to pick up the Nitro opener onto Lobin. And I always say this about Nitros. They're a beautiful kill because they're practically risk-free. It's very rare that you're actually exposing yourself. You're not taking a gunfight as such. You're not generally giving an opportunity over to the other party to be able to fight back. So what a beautiful start. And look who they've taken off the board as well. The Dokkaebi is gone. That's going to be a big part of trying to clear space for W7M here. Get those calls out, force the roamers away, go in there and take control of places like admin. Dash is doing exactly that and manages to cut down Robbie in the process.
Yeah, good response. Needed that one. Poor old Lobin. He also was, at the suspect of having lost his life early in the last couple of rounds in Clubhouse. Then to start this map, also losing his life to begin with. Has become a little bit of a trend over the last few rounds between the two maps. But yeah, 4v4, 90 seconds. This is not awful for W7M. Yes, he lost the Dokkaebi. Don't have those logic bombs, can't call out positions, put the defense under pressure. But you also don't have to deal with these keeper barriers that can really lock down some certain chokeholds on this map. So I think right now it's pretty even between the two teams, and I'm curious to see what Dots wants to do here on the Blitz. And when W7M want to send it in, you've got two shields. You can get rather aggressive hitting the site.
Seems like a little bit of a pause here for W7M, just to have a think, just to get prepped, make sure that everything is ready to go. It's all going to be about timing for this execution. Doda's just walking around underneath, seeing if he can get anything going. But Falcons, they are quite dug in here. They're happy to just hold their positions and wait. At the end of the day, here goes Volt straight in on the Blackbeard, and it's over.
That is the best way for you to phrase, and it's over. To be fair,
well, I was going to go for more, and then I thought, you know what? I don't think I need to. I don't think I need to. Falcons have just shut that down within a heartbeat.
It's a very default-looking attack from W7M that Falcons just largely look set up for as well. And W7M, I mean, that is just not how you want to attack. And Guards begins the trash talk as well inside of the server, indicating to W7M that they should not be playing shields. That maybe their skill level isn't quite for that particular skill set. And he forgot the... I like... You know what? When banter's good and it's like cheeky like the, I think it's great. I think as long as you never cross the lines or anything, these guys have actually had some really good banter in this series. But for Falcons, you win the opening round, and a lot of that comes off the back of that early Nitro cell, nice free kill. You get rid of the Dokkaebi. You don't have to worry about the logic bombs. Yes, you lose Robbie, but W7M just spent far too long stalled out on the roof. They wanted to obviously go for that default hit. You need the blitz to stay alive. But also, you haven't cleared out utility over towards default. It just goes up in flames. You have to push forward. You're then out in the open. You've lost your blitz. You don't have the shield up. It's all just going horribly wrong. And that's why it ended up the way that it did. 4 quick deaths. And Falcons with a quick opening round. And these are the rounds W7M cannot afford to continue to give up.
This is the thing for W7M at the minute, is it becomes a slippery slope as well. Falcons, given that it's not their map pick, they've been able to choose the sides. So they come in here, and I think, starting on the defense is a really smart play, because they could well go 4-2, 5-1, and then they're just a few rounds away from getting it won. It's a real big one for then W7M to try and overcome. They're going to be fighting from behind almost the whole time here, and that can really take its toll. And we might actually see mistakes start to creep in for W7M if they start feeling fatigued, if they're under the pressure and the strain that they're going to be facing. So for now, they're going to be attacking on to basement, looking at the positions of Falcons. It should be possible for them to challenge in that mid-floor. They've got 3 up there at the minute. 1 drops back. Jalad's just gone back to site, but Hasham and Robbie are still up on that mid-floor. So W7M are not going to be able to just walk in and take control of that. For the time being, it's going to be all rear-sided from W7M. The Monty of Volps has pushed his way through almost to bottom spiral. He's just forced the players back out of archives, so he's going to be looking for more to join him. Nitro goes out, not going to do any damage. They just need to make sure that they get the value out of this Monty. It's something that W7M have failed to do so far.
Yeah, Volps is doing well again. It reminds me of that top red push from Volps on the first map, where he's just really getting into the face of the defense, and this time works out well. Dash playing behind, but it's Logan that does get the kill. Yeah, they've played this really well so far, W7M, really utilizing that Montang perfectly towards bot yellow. Jalad able to keep the round alive, and you've still got Expo in position too for Robbie. So by no means is this over when it comes to the round. Volps is sticking the plant down, and if it does not get denied, sure, it's going to make it a lot harder for Falcons, and it looks as if they have no way to actually deny it. They try and push over towards Pillar, but it's being held very nicely, and Robbie's just forced to run out into the open. Logan with a double at the end. W7M with an attacking round on Consulate.
The thing is, for W7M, when they win rounds, it looks really easy. That looked so easy for them. They just completely ignored mid-floor. They just sent Volps through on the Monty with, you're absolutely right, another fantastic Monty play, just like we saw on that CCTV take. It's kind of all or nothing from the shields on the side of W7M at the minute. It either really works out or it really doesn't. There's no in-between for them. They never seem to have like an okay round with the Monty or with the Blackbeard or anything. So this time, yeah, Volps got it just right. He pushed forward aggressively. He took space. He took ground. He enabled his teammates to get kills. It was really, really good from them. So when it looks good for W7M, it looks really good. Yep. It's just getting that consistency now for them round to round.
Yeah, I think that's been an issue probably for both teams, and you can even label that throughout the entire tournament, and probably why they're both in this position right now. They've been good, they've had really good signs, and that could even be said throughout the calendar year, but the consistency, it really does feel like the kind of matchup, and I know it's easy to say, but whoever can be more consistent for the remainder of this series is far more likely to come out on top and progress forward and take on Dark Zero later today. Obviously, you want to limit your errors and your mistakes, but I don't think there's been too many crucial ones. It's just, you have Volps on the Montang, and he does it really well and you win the round. And then you're immediately like, okay, now Dots goes on the Montang. And I understand they have their set plays and things like that, but sometimes you just got to let the guy who's doing really well on that operator continue. Because now, if you come into this round and Dots on the Montang is not as aggressive, is not pushing, putting the pressure onto Falcons, that's going to be easier for Falcons to deal with.
Cubby is going to get opened straight away here with 40 seconds into the round. So again, reasonably quick progress from W7M. I'd go back to what I said on Clubhouse. I think W7M just need to take their time with it. Just like this, march across. You've got roamers, okay, bully them, move them. You don't need to go in and take aggressive 50-50 fights. Use the utility that you've got. Use the shield to get across and just make those positions just unplayable for Falcons. Force them into bad spots. And right now we can see Falcons are just being forced deeper and deeper here. Dots has taken some damage on that Monty, but Dordes gets the opener onto Robbie, and again, it's that slow burner that is building for W7M.
Yeah, Falcons just not able to get on the front foot. They're not the ones being aggressive and taking the fight. They're just getting pushed back and back, and you can't even run down yellow stairs because they've got a sign of Lightem side outside looking in. 5v2, a well-worked and well-constructed round from W7M. Falcons haven't looked even remotely likely in this round, Tim. It's been a total onslaught, and Dots has done a decent job on the Montang to push forward, creating so much space. The amount of map control, space, lines of sight, everything, crossfires. W7M had it all in that round. That might be the most dominant round we've seen from them in the series.
And what was the pace like? It was just middle of the road. There was no rush there. There was no over-the-top aggression. It was just a consistent pressure being applied throughout the round, and Falcons had absolutely no answer to it. And this is the thing. I think, maybe W7M have just been overcomplicating things a little bit. Just do the default, do the fundamentals really well, work through at your own pace, And Falcons will be forced into bad spots. Falcons will lose gunfights to you. You know, these W7M players are top-notch when it comes to being guns up and hitting shots. So just allow that to happen. And I think, you know, maybe they've just been trying to grasp at the game a little bit too tightly when they just need to relax a little bit and just play their game. You know, just trust the process.
I think, you know, usually when you get to the APAC and the MENA regions and LATAM regions, one thing that's typically said when they go international is, can they deal with the even default nature of these top Brazilians and European teams? Can they deal with that methodical play style where it's so calculated and precise that if W7M want to play that super fast and aggressive style, it probably plays into the hands of Falcons a little bit, who are used to that. So if you do go back and you play this super high level default or Siege, that's something that Falcons might have a more difficult time breaking down. Slow things, slow the pace, control the game, get space, and Falcons start to crumble a little bit because there's less openings, because you're making naturally less mistakes, because you're rushing around and trying to be aggressive and trying to play fast. And again, here in the 4th round, I love this. Dots, yes, you're on the Amaro. You don't need to just send it in straight away. Be patient. Clear things out. You're looking for that default hit. You know what you want to do, but set up for it first.
It's going to be working the angle from the window then. Dots on the Amaru rather than the zip in. He's going to be just working that angle, just get everything opened underneath. Again, this is good from W7M. They are ticking boxes. They just need to make sure that they've got behind desk cleared out.
Well, it's the pressure from Falcons, though, down below.
Yeah, nothing, exactly. And this is what I mean. Falcons, I feel like... W7M have been getting dragged into their game. They've been getting dragged into Falcons' game, whereas W7M just kind of need to almost ignore that there's another team in the server. And if they just go in and say, right, our keys here, our you know, methods for victory here are getting this area, you know, and write themselves a checkbox and just go and tick them off, they will win the rounds.
Big kill, though, onto Lopen. That shuts down the butt. No more skeleton key. He did a little bit of work over towards Piano, but Guards finding that kill from Secretary does change the complexion of this round just a little bit. Again, at some point, W7M can certainly go fast. And it may be now off the back of the logic bomb now, the grappling hook in for Dots, and he goes for the fake. Seen this plenty of times before. The power of the Amaru, you go in, force out utility, whether that be a nitrocell, whether that be a gas canister, or both. He then hops back out. There's still 60 seconds because the time management from W7M thus far has been pretty decent. But you can only do this so many more times. At some point, you will have to commit. In fact, so much so, there's only one more hook remaining. A one-for-one trade doesn't really benefit anyone. But if anything, no Warden on the board does weaken Falcons a little bit if there's flashes going in, of which there's only one. So it shouldn't be too much of an issue. I don't know where Dots is going down below with the kit, but that's essentially the round over in my eyes, unless W7M do something absolutely miraculous. They have really fumbled the bag here in the 4th round. Credit to Falcons, though, for their defense up above. W7M, they went for a pivot that just never was on.
I think that's the key here. Is this is about Falcons adapting as well. You know, as I've said, if W7M play their game and just sort of default work their way through them, they get some success from it. But again, we've said how well Falcons have learned along the way, and they've recognised the last round that they lost is W7M were doing exactly that. So what do we shape up for? This time we shape up for a patient default push, and that's exactly what W7M did, and Falcons this time outmaneuvered them. And it was going to be difficult anyway. Like you said, there was only one hook remaining for the Amaru. There was smoke canisters still in hand. The time was running down. But then it was the key factor of recognising, let's get underneath and get that kill. We're going to have a player down there for W7M. We're going to have somebody making it difficult for us to stay in position. So we go and get it. And it was good response from Falcons. This one continues to be a very close Consulate.
Oh, it certainly does. 2-2 scoreline right now, back and forth between these two teams. Again, the one thing that Falcons have, though, is the edge of winning the opening map. So they've got that buffer. Skyscraper, if required, is at least on their side for W7M. You cannot lose this map. Otherwise, your time with the Six Invitational is up. And so far, it's a very difficult one to call, which is fascinating and great for us. That makes it exciting for us and the viewers. This is a tight one. It's really hard to see who's going to be able to pull away from here. You can make arguments for both teams. It's really just a matter of sit back and enjoy this game, Tim, and see how it's all going to unfold. Now, Falcons, you know, it still feels like, you know, Robbie's 0-3. Like, even on the first map, he was still negative on entries. Like, there's still so much room to grow for him.
The big problem potentially for Falcons here is coming into today, I mentioned their attacking win rate is very, very low. It's down in the 30%. So getting onto this second half is going to be tough on Consulate. They need to make sure that they get in these last 2 rounds, really. Get themselves a bit of an advantage, go 4-2, and then they don't have to worry too much about the attack. They're being pressured by the shields again. We see the impact nade being dumped out, the Vulcan canister. Falcons have the utility at hand, and they're using it well, but the pressure is now mounting. Jalad's going to head himself away. He's being chased down by the Blitz. Surely nothing he can do about it. There won't be. 4 versus 3 as they manage to pick up 2 on the way to w7m. At the minute, it's all about this pillar possession and Dover just trying to hold on.
Still got 2 shields up as well, so if they want, they can brute force their way through it. That's exactly what they do. Dash in between the Blitz, and the Blackbeard is able to find 2 kills on sight. Hasham nowhere to be seen. Coming from Bot Spiral, and w7m are able to just waltz their way in towards the site. They were super aggressive again this round, but this time Falcons were not quite as prepared. We're not quite as ready for it, especially the double shield setup. Much better from w7m, and they retake the lead on Consulate.
As I say, I think I'd double down on what I said. I think if w7m just stay default, play their game, don't get dragged into fast-paced siege because that's what Falcons want. If they just do that, they will win more rounds than they will lose. Of course, Falcons will pick 1 or 2 up here and there, but ultimately, I think w7m will just grind them down. I'm still expecting to see a map 3, especially after w7m have just won that 3rd attack, because you look at it and you think, do Falcons have 3 attacking wins in them? I'm not sure they do. They didn't really show us a great attacking prowess on Clubhouse. It was mostly defender-sided. Stats for the entire tournament suggest that Falcons have struggled on that side of the thing. So I just think if w7m can get another one here, it kind of almost seals the deal. But even at a 3-3, that's a great foundation for w7m.
Final round of the half. Yeah, I agree. I think Falcons really need the 3rd round here. And if they can find it, I would probably say this is going to be quite an equal scoreline going into the second half. To make the arguments regarding, of course, Falcons' inability to attack the event so far, but there's always going to be, at some point, an opportunity to improve on that and to turn that form around. And it could very well be the second half of Consulate. There's still no kills for Robbie. Again, he was better on Clubhouse in comparison to his previous performances at this event. But by and large, it has been a rough tournament for someone who was like on a supernova level in Montreal, who really made a name for himself as one of the top players and has not so far been able to back it up at Six Invitational. Fortunately, the likes of Dov and Jalad have been great, but speaking of him, and such a talented player, again, he loses his life to begin the round, and the aggression from w7m continues, forthcoming from the previous one. They have that 2-player advantage. Loban trying to put more pressure and pain onto Falcons, taking the battle towards Yellow Stairs. He gets away with his life intact because, of course, he's got a big giant shield that is just not that easy to deal with. In fact, Nitrocell bounces off that shield like it's foam. 1 versus 2 for J-Lad. He's already found 2 kills in the round, full white. And Volts is sticking the plant inside of Piano. A lot of time remaining in the round, and now a 1 versus 1. But credit to Volts. He understands he needs to get off the plant and find the trade imminently. And he does do so. And it's a 4-2 lead for w7m heading into the second half.
It was a perfect time to take on the plant because it's one of 2 things. You either put it down and you leave Falcons in a 1v2, fantastic, or it's bait. You know he's going to try and push your teammate because he's in 1v1 at that point, so you just come off the plant and hold the crossfire. It was worked perfectly by w7m. As soon as the call comes, he's pushing me. Yep, I'm off the plant and I'm there ready to kill him. If the call never comes, then you just stick the plant. No problem. You've got a Blackbeard, you've got a shield to hold it with. You're almost certainly going to win the round. So w7m 4-2 on the attacking half. I feel like w7m have they've woken up, they've found the next gear, and I feel like they've realised that they should be the better team in this matchup.
w7m did lead 4-2 in the first half of Clubhouse, but they were on defense. Whereas, of course, they've done so here on attack.
I think this
Consulate.
is going to be over quickly, if I'm honest.
Well, we'll see if Falcons can prove you wrong, Tim. I kind of hope they do, to be honest. I don't want to see them just get demolished here, like 7-2, 7-3. Even if w7m win this map, at least need to see Falcons do well on the attack of Consulate for their own sake. But I think they've looked... You know, if you were to actually look at both maps, like if you were to put it in this big picture, like w7m's probably been slightly the better team. And yet, despite that, Falcons actually are the team that has that map, at least in the back pocket, as a safekeep. And Skyscraper, of course, is waiting in the wings as the third and decisive map. We shall see if we do require its presence inside of the server. Robbie on the sand, 0-5 to begin with so far. Fortunately, Jalad and Dov have been playing really well so far in Consulate, but they need more. Again, Hashram typically the second highest rated player on the roster for Falcons, as Jalad continues to set the example. Gets rid of the Azami, which is great because of positions such as this over the ward manager's office. You can lock down certain positions and doorways with those keeper barriers. That's been dealt with. That's a big power operator off the board for w7m.
And they clearly wanted to take admin. That was how they were shaping up. How about that? Nitro over the top.
Robbie couldn't hit the barn door at the moment.
Absolutely not. He had the opportunity to take it out of the air, but didn't manage to find his shots. Loses his life to the Nitro. And all of a sudden, this push into admin seems to be falling apart as w7m. It looked for a second like they might just be losing their footing on that side of the map, but absolutely not. Dash gets taken down, but only once the damage is done realistically. 3 versus 3. They still have the Blackbeard on side, but the big loss here is Robbie on that sense. Obviously going to be a big part of any execute that was due to go down. Now Falcons have to think on the fly. They have to come up with an alternative.
2 shields inside of the server, 1 apiece. You've got the Blackbeard, you've got the Clash. Still 3 gas babes available for Volps too, which is a decent amount of utility. If there is going to be a somewhat slow push from Falcons, they can get stalled out by the smoke. Just under a minute has ticked over. And drones still available as well for Falcons if they do require more vision and more information. But it feels like Dots is the final boss. It feels like that Clash is what's going to be standing quite literally in their way.
Almost all of the utility has been used for Falcons as well. They've got nothing else to play behind other than the shield and guns. That is it. Whereas on the side of w7m, they've got smoke canisters left. They've got goo mines potentially to play behind. But talking of guns, guns are all they need. The Clash is the last alive, and somehow they've managed to get this done. They knock the Clash down, get the kill. Falcons there, even with no utility left, managed to find a way, and that for me has been the real story of this Falcons side so far. I didn't expect too much from them on the attack, given what we've seen throughout the tournament. They come in there, they lose the focal point, the tip of the spear for that plant. For that execute, the sense goes. They use all the nades. They use most of the utility. They had 1 impact EMP left, potentially to hinder the Clash. But other than that, they just had to go in and win gunfights. But Falcons just keep finding a way.
They do, Tim, they do. And it was a lot of help from Dov. A 3K at the end. In the late round, you still had the Clash that needed to be dealt with, but they just found a way to kind of play around the Clash. The best thing you can typically do is have the Clash almost be the last one alive, because it means you've been able to find picks elsewhere. 3-4, an early attacking round as well for Falcons. Should put, for the fans at least, a little bit at ease. Maybe the idea that they can't attack here, that it's not going to be possible. Well, now they've shown it is possible, and by no means is this one over. 3-4, it's nothing. It's a 1-round differential. Falcons have shown they've got the ability to attack. Of course, we know w7m can certainly defend a little bit better than that previous round, and they get off of the Clash. And I think at any time the Clash is the last one alive, you have to sit back and say, did we get a lot of impact and value from that Clash? Did it protect people? If it didn't, maybe we shouldn't play it.
If you want to be playing the Clash up on the top floor here of Consulate, I think you really need to go and have a look at SSG's defensive round that they played with Forrest on the Clash. He was playing in at Vending Machine. It was one that Leo fantastically broke down on the telestrator for us. It was just such a good understanding of top floor from SSG. Perfectly positioned. They could hold yellow stairs pushers, they could hold window pushers, they could hold admin pushers, all at the same time. Nobody had to relocate. It was great from them, and I think it's definitely something to be learned from. A bit of early excitement there as shots rain in towards Dover, but he's on the Blackbeard. The first shield will save him for now. However, some chip damage does come in as he repositions himself on that window.
They brought the Sens again. Didn't get to see the ROUs in action due to Robbie's early death at the hands of that Nitrocell in the previous round. So they can aid with the on-site execution, block off some lines of sight along with the entry too. And you think about positions like bending and long desk and the hallway position. The ROUs can be super impactful. You can toggle them on and off now as well. So I'm curious to see what this attack can look like if Robbie stays alive, throws out those ROUs and gets the light screens up to help aid Falcons push towards the site. As Dov makes his way in towards Break Room off of the rappel. But again, did end up taking a little bit of unnecessary damage before when he was on the rappel. You can see the ROU ready to go. The light screen can be very much sent up here by Robbie, along with the bees as well. So they've got a lot of ability, Falcons, to displace these members of W7M, but they're holding strong right now towards long desk. As Hashem makes his way up yellow stairs, there is one close by.
Plenty more utility available for Falcons as well. They've got flashes, they've got a nade, they've got impact TMPs that they can use to work their way in, but it's going to be Lobin to pick things up to begin with. The screen does go up and W7M are just trying to hold on here as Falcons look to push through it, and they do fantastically well. 2 versus 3, 35 seconds left to go.
Yeah, but they're so low. I mean, Robbie and Jalad barely have not even half health if you were to combine their health margins. ROU still available for Robbie, but Rolps up close. The shotgun is honestly overkill at that point, considering the health margin of Jalad. Good trade from Robbie, but quite literally on 1 health point now against Dots and Lobin with so little time remaining in the round. There should virtually be an impossibility for Robbie. And right now, for the 2 members of W7M, you can play the hiding game and peek out at the last second if you so choose to. Comfortable round for W7M. Yes, things weren't the cleanest, but it always felt like it was going their way in that round.
It did. They were always on top of things, and this is where I say I think Falcons will struggle overall to get this one done. W7M, they need to grind out 2 more defenses, and they almost certainly will do. They'll adapt as they go, and I think we are heading towards that decider on Skyscraper, which, to be honest, I think is a good thing. As we said, a good map for both of these teams. We've seen them play on maps that they don't usually go to. I'd like to see them go at each other at their best, effectively, and Skyscraper might just be able to bring that out of both of them. So W7M will continue things. Round 9. They're on the defense of Piano and Exhibition, so W7M just staying away from that bottom floor for the time being. Having a look at the setup, nothing too wild there. We've got the Mirror, we've got the Malusi. The Malusi probably the most unusual out of the lineup, but just great value there to slow things down, get those Banshees out, and again, just create problems for Falcons. Just try and burn that time down and create situations. They tend to be picking up a lot of kills, W7M, while Falcons are trying to do something else. So give them something else to do and then attack them.
100% conversion rate in rounds as well, where a team who gets the opening kill then goes on and gets the round, of which that's, well, 5 rounds for W7M, of course, and 3 for Falcons with the 100% conversion rate. That does put a little bit of emphasis on the earlier portion of these rounds of Consulate, especially for Falcons, where it feels like if they don't start well in these rounds, they get stalled out, they get slowed down, they can't break down the defense of W7M. If they can make it scrappy, if they can find a pick early, offset that defense a little bit, there's certainly more avenues that they can attack in towards the site. But right now it does feel like W7M 2 rounds away from being able to extend this series to a 3rd map. What can Falcons do to just keep themselves here alive on Consulate? They won the opening attacking round of the second half. They require a lot more, though. And they go to guards on the Montang. No clash employed by W7M this round, so only the 1 shield actually up inside of the server, with no Blackbeard also being taken in. Double Nitro for W7M on the defense as Jalad gets to work, opening up long desk.
4 of W7M up on the top floor, only 1 on site here. It feels like it would be a very Falcons thing to do, to look at site and say, nah, we're just going to go direct here. We're not going to play into that top floor game. For the time being, it looks like they will do. They're going to try and get themselves established inside of admin, but just keep an eye on that mid-level. It wouldn't surprise me to see them sort of work their way in there if they feel like there's an opportunity, rather than taking the entirety of the top floor. For the time being, Guards is going to look to push forward and just start to bully bully those players in meeting. That's the main area, really. If you can start clearing meeting out and get some control of that and long desk, you can think about potentially working in from lounge.
And Robbie just adventuring a little bit forward ahead of guards on the Montaigne. Dash opens things up. Another opening kill for W7M. It's the 6th one that they have had now heading into the 9th round. That is an incredibly dominant statistic in their favor. And again, reminding the fact that it's been 100% conversion rate too of opening kill to round win. And with only 50 seconds left, no real map control, no real presence or attack from Falcons. I mean, there's nothing really on W7M that is pressuring them, but maybe now the Montaigne guards in towards meeting. Loban, like Batman, jumps out the window and goes for a rather aggressive rotate back down below and does not get punished for it, while elsewhere his teammate is cleaning up. They are dominating Falcons right now on Consulate. Nothing the Montaigne can do. Right now, not a lot Falcons can do.
I think W7M are realizing that there's not much that they need to do. They just need to set themselves up and let Falcons try to play it into them. On attack, Falcons are kind of their own worst enemy. Like you say, if nobody peeks them, if nobody gives them fights, they really struggle to break down defenses, to create a position to execute, to create that space inside a site. We haven't seen them doing it over and over now. So W7M, they seem to have realized that, and they're just saying, you know what, this is the setup. We're not going to peek you. We're not going to get overly aggressive. Once there's 40 seconds left, yeah, we'll take some fights with you and we'll get a couple of kills, because at that point, you're going to start rushing and you're going to start making mistakes. And Lobin was sat there for 2 minutes just inside a connector window waiting for that Monty to just stray past him. It didn't get him the kill onto the Monty, but it was an easy rotate for him, because at that point he knows majority, he peeks around the corner, he sees that 4 of them are up on the top floor, so it's probably not that big a risk. It's calculated from him. But yeah, W7M realising that actually less is probably more.
So the tactical timeout expires, called by Falcons, down 3-6 on the second map of this series. Of course, they won the opening map 8-6 on Clubhouse. Feels like a lot of the trash talk and banter has subsided a little bit too, hasn't it?
A bit quieter in the chat now, isn't it?
A little bit quiet from guards. 2-7, down 3-6. It looks like that third map is going to be required. Skyscraper, of course, the deciding map for these two teams. And I kind of glance my eyes a little bit, Tim, towards some of those statistics. 2-1 record over the last few months for W7M. It is their best performing map defensively, so the highest defensive win rate on any given map. It is also, though, their second worst attacking map. I think that's pretty normal for a lot of teams. And also for Team Falcons, a pretty decent map for them. Their second best defensive win rate map, ironically only behind Bank, which is their absolute #1 map. They're 6-0, great stats across the board. And unfortunately on Skyscraper, both teams are 2-1. So it should be a good position for us as viewers, less so for the teams, because I feel like it's going to be a genuine toss of the coin if we do go to Skyscraper. 6-3 here on Consulate. W7M on the verge of taking the second map, which of course is their map pick.
Falcons have got to figure this out. They've got to start clearing utility, disrupting W7M and getting themselves into a position to execute. They need to understand, you know, what's the win criteria here and how do we go about getting ourselves into that situation. For the time being, they want to get aggressively into top floor by the looks of things. That's the push they're going to start, is looking to make sure that they've got map clearance. That's going to give the Buck the opportunity inside a piano to open up the verticals and start working to soften sight up. But the question is, can they do it quickly enough? They've got Volps to contend with up there on the top floor. He is alone at the minute. He's got Lobin playing underneath him on Spiral, who could nip up and down, but just gets completely caught out there. Brilliant stuff by Robbie and Falcons. And now is the time to aggress forward and to press that advantage.
The first time we've seen Robbie actually get an opening kill on Consulate so far. Last time he actually got an opening kill in the series was all the way back in the 5th round of Clubhouse. So it's been a little bit of time coming for the player who had the most opening kills over in Montreal. 3-8. And he is a player that if doesn't activate, it's hard to imagine on Skyscraper that Falcons are going to be able to get the job done. They just need a little bit more. And he is that more that is very much there and should be a required piece of the puzzle. Watching the vert angle, hoping that someone from W7M steps into his line of sight.
All of Falcons are stationary at the minute. None of them are moving. And that's a big problem. We go down to yellow and we see Hasham just taking out a little bit of barbed wire, but this is what I've been talking about. W7M don't necessarily need to do much. They can just sit and wait and allow Falcons to falter, allow Falcons to kind of peter out and to not have that ability to get themselves into sight and to be in a position to put the diffuser down. We're going to have a coming together there between Lobin and Guards on yellow stairs. Guards naturally wins it out. I think that's W7M just slipping a little bit there. They didn't need that aggression onto yellow stairs. It creates a situation where they're 3 versus 5. 30 seconds left to go. Not much utility to play behind now. And it's going to be tough to hold on.
It's probably the most map control we've had from Falcons as well. Now, Dots has forced himself over towards the breach, hoping to maybe catch Guards, or I guess in this case...
Doesn't work anymore, Dots.
Jalad off guard. Jalad does not get caught completely at all. He gets the free kill with this round shaping up for Falcons. It does mean we will continue on Consulate for a little bit longer. Successful plant from Guards. Dodes incredibly low. Needs to find the final 2 kills, and with a shield player still inside of the server, surely it'll be too much of an ask. Dodes, of course, will push and pull his way forward and see if he can just get a little bit fortunate. If he could have found that kill onto Guards, would have made it far more likely that Jalad, with the pistol, puts an end to the round and just extends things a bit on Consulate.
Falcons keep fighting. They managed to get it done, but it just always feels like it's too much of a gamble for them on the attack. It's always that last 20 or 30 seconds with the explosive push into sight. They don't do quite enough through the round, and W7M, they keep leaning into that, although I think that little bit of extension onto yellow stairs. The Ella trying to get back up above. I get it. Try and take the vertical maybe if it's possible. Get yourself into piano in the late round, but just unnecessary and seem to be the catalyst for Falcons push forward to really gain some momentum. So heading into round 11, W7M still have the lead. They've had 1 failed opportunity to close this out. They will have 2 more, and this time it's going to be the top floor.
Don't forget, Tim, as well, that we were in this exact position on Clubhouse. It was 4-6 in favor of W7M. They could have won the opening map, and then Falcons, they just kind of went bang, bang, bang in quick succession. They go and win the final 6 out of 7 rounds to claim the map. Surely something like that isn't going to happen again, is it? That would be a devastating way for W7M to get knocked out of Six Invitational. They must close this map out. 2 opportunities to force us over to Skyscraper for a 3rd and final map of this series. Falcons, they have nothing to lose at this point. They can go for broke. They know full well if they can force OT, that mentally, that would be a big hit to W7M. They'll start to second guess a little bit. They'll start to get a bit nervous. They have an opportunity to then get eliminated. And nothing to lose for Falcons. Double shield set up once again for them. Flash employed by W7M to counteract.
W7M have brought an absolute abundance of barbed wire, as you can see, 3 of their operators with it. So that's going to mean that any push across this top floor is going to be hindered. I would expect from absolutely every direction. There will be barb on yellow with some barb on spiral. It's going to be for the Flores to get the Reteros in and clear that out. I would imagine that there will be barbed wire coming out of manager's office, out of copy, everywhere that they want to push forward and take. There you go, exactly that. There's going to be barbed wire absolutely everywhere. So that's something that Falcons need to think about. They've got 3 nades left, and they've got, of course, a Retero drone. So they should be able to prep that before they look to make that final push. But W7M, they set up in very good positions here. They've got the vending machine that they can hold the corridor with. They've got the clash to burn that time, and it is Falcons trying to push in from the admin side. They could come up against a major roadblock here.
It's something that Falcons will be absolutely mindful of. The amount of delay operators that W7M have brought into the round. They've got gas babes, Vulcan canisters, Legion goo mines. The clash itself is the very definition of just stalling out this army to hold down these positions like vending for just a bit longer. 60 seconds left for Falcons. At some point, you're going to have to play off of the ROUs, and that's exactly what they do. But it's the opening pick for the defense that sets the tone early by getting the kill onto the Blackbeard. That is a huge piece taken off the ball for Falcons. And with that second now, it's all falling the way of W7M. Falcons down to just 2 players remaining, and Robbie's getting lit up over towards Copy Room. Surely this should be the map for W7M to send us the Skyscraper from this point in a 2 versus 5. And with the diffuser at your feet, W7M should be taking this map.
Like a house of cards, it all has come tumbling down in round 11 for Falcons. Like you say, the diffuser down cold, a lack of utility, a lack of hit points, a lack of opportunity as Dordes manages to find Robbie through that drone hole, and they start swarming like sharks around, blood in the water. W7M, they know that the opportunity is theirs, and the Brazilians bite back. They take Consulate, and there is one apiece heading to map 3.
Oh, it's going to come down to a best of one for these two teams. W7M and Falcons fighting tooth and nail here in the lower bracket. For Falcons, they'll feel as if they probably could have played a little bit better there on Consulate, but you've got to give the plaudits and the credit to W7M for bouncing back after losing Clubhouse in the fashion that they did. For all intents and purposes, Tim, you can make an argument, a very easy one, that this could have been a 2-0. That W7M should have won on Clubhouse and be done with this matchup and be booking their ticket against Dark Zero. Alas, though, Falcons, they came back on Club, but they couldn't come back on Consulate. Because of that, we are going to be heading to Skyscraper to determine which of these two teams is going to be taking on Dark Zero.
Well, after that one, I think...
Tap, yeah, I want that. No lines, I don't cut back. Sweet, salty, and all that. Let loose, come get that. Can you play that back, back, back? Can you run that back, back, back? I'm trying to play that back, back, back. I want that. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel? Let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel that? Ooh, you feel that? Ooh, the real back. Ooh, I'm still that. Ooh, you catch that? Ooh, I guess that. The best back. Yeah, yeah. 30,000 up on my pallet. Might jump out if I'm wildin'. Catch my flow, I'm so stylish. Tap, tap, real smooth. Can you play that back, back, back? Can you run that back, back, back? I'm trying to play that back, back, back. I want that. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Tap, tap, let's go, let's go. Right here, can you feel? Let's go.
There are many great players who are not champions, who have never lifted the hammer, who might never lift the hammer. And it's not because they aren't good enough, they just might not put in what it requires to really get there. Because they're the goods and not the greats.
There is not 1 hour of the day where your mind can be off siege. You have to sacrifice everything to win.
If you were to win any event and call it quits, it would probably be the Six Invitational.
Chegar no topo uma vez, então assim foi um momento de muita emoção.
The Invitational is, the kind of the final checkpoint, the final test. It meant the world to me.
History will be made here because for the first time on home soil, a Brazilian team will win a world championship.
The only thing that matters is the 4 guys next to you, your coach, and the screen in front of you.
No one ever really just goes and wins. You have to go through the pain, the hardships.
Phase are exploding!
You have to go all in, that's it.
Quem perdeu foi nós tudo ali. E a gente que vai virar isso aqui agora.
Você tem que confiar muito no seu time.
Não vamos desistir, não vamos desistir.
w7m and brought it all the way back!
Baixa demais, porra!
When you truly want to become the best, you truly have to believe that you are, because you have to play it 100%.
Team Rainbow. Carries Legion. Listen up. Hereford Base is now under our control. We're not giving it up without a fight. Remember the mission, and do not let anyone stand in your way. Every action you take will be the difference between victory and defeat.
Well, this lower bracket matchup is certainly not disappointing as Falcons and w7m require all three maps. Consulate, very much dominant performance from w7m and some question marks still remaining for Falcons team. We had some questions for them and the answers weren't great about their attack. It's still a work in progress. While there were some decent signs, it was a match that really felt like it was controlled by w7m from start to finish.
Yeah, they had opportunities, did Falcons, throughout it, but ultimately w7m, like you said, just felt in command. The rounds, it's like I said, they were always going to grind them down because they kind of figured out that, look, we just need to slow things down, play at default, and at least in some or most of the rounds, Falcons will falter. They won't be able to break us down. They won't be able to find the way in. And occasionally, Falcons managed it, but ultimately, yeah, w7m, they became a stone wall. It was just kind of too much for Falcons to get around.
Well, it's not often that you play 11 rounds of Siege and every single opening kill is converted into a round win, but that is exactly what has happened in the previous one.
See our stats up there.
What are you showing me there, Tim?
I'm showing you the back-to-back aces that have just happened on the other channel.
You're telling me there was back-to-back aces on our match and back-to-back aces on the other match, and Fresh is just sitting there just continuing to deposit money for charity in his break.
Exactly that. What were the chances of a back-to-back ace on ours, let alone a back-to-back ace in 2 games? In that case, though, Falcons, at least, they had back-to-back aces for themselves. On the other stream, it was back-to-back aces in response. FaZe got one and then Liquid got one.
Speaking of responses, 7-4 win for w7m is quite the response after losing Clubhouse when they were up at various points by decent margins. They were up 5-2, they were up 6-4, so they had a really good hold on Clubhouse, but ultimately Falcons then brought it back quite dominantly. And they could continue that dominance then into Consulate. A good little circuit breaker from w7m, and it really does reset us now going into Skyscraper. Now, Falcons are defending first, Tim, and it's a good measuring stick for this game, because if they only get like 3 defensive rounds, I feel as if they're going to struggle on the attack in the second half. So you think probably like, even as far as 5 defensive rounds is maybe required.
4 absolute minimum. Absolute minimum for Falcons. Like I've said a couple of times, their attacking win rate has not been there. They go up against w7m on their best defensive map. w7m are fantastic at defending Skyscraper. And yeah, Falcons are going to struggle to find attacking rounds here, especially if w7m played it like they did on Consulate, where they're just forcing them to play into them all the time. So Falcons, minimum 4-2. 5-1 would be ideal to kick things off. Is that possible against w7m here on Skyscraper?
Ooh.
I think it could be a very big ask. Right now, I feel like this has slid heavily in the favour of w7m.
I have to agree with you there. I think that's really the most obvious statement for w7m. Definitely taking that favoritism tag into Skyscraper. Far and away an improved performance on Consulate. They get to attack first as well, which is kind of intriguing that you would usually say, well, maybe you want to start defense. But I think the added benefit of just having that kind of first half where you don't necessarily need to get too much. The pressure's on Falcons. For me, in my mind, it's on Falcons to do well defensively in this first half. So the obligation is more on them than it is, say, on a w7m, who really only need 1 or 2 rounds. Arguably 2 or 3 would be amazing. And so that's something that you can kind of plug away at. Yeah, I've got w7m, but I also wouldn't be shocked. Like, I wouldn't be sitting here bewildered if Falcons do win this map. Like, I think they've shown enough on Clubhouse. They've certainly got room for improvement. If they can find it here within themselves going into this final map, it wouldn't be a total shock. I think this is going to be probably a 60-40 split in favor of w7m. It's 66-34. Not too far off, Tim, but I think that's a pretty much spot-on marginal point. 65-35 kind of split.
There's an advantage to w7m.
Exactly.
It's still possible. The dream is alive for Falcons, but it's going to be determined, I think, over the first half of this. If Falcons don't get a significant showing on defense, it's going to be tough. The bans are reversed here, so this will be Falcons kicking off with a blitz ban, and then we will have w7m coming through with the next 2. But looking at the performances overall so far as well, Jalad and Dover doing very, very well in terms of the Falcons players. They really are the 2 driving it forward. But I want to give a shout out to Volps as well at the beginning of this. I picked up that he'd had a quiet tournament so far, can be a talismanic player for w7m. He's having a much better day. 17 and 16, 2-2 on the entry, getting himself involved all over the map. Not having a bad one today.
No, he hasn't. He's certainly been influential. For Robbie, who's good in club, and then not so good on Consulate. So what Robbie are we going to get on Skyscraper? Falcons need the good Robbie. They need that extra firepower. It can't just be Dov. It can't just be Dov. It can't just be J-Lad. Those 2 have been incredibly consistent over the 2 maps, heading into now the 3rd map. If you kind of look at the overall statistics, as Fenrir is the last one banned out, there's only 2 players for Falcons that are above 100 EPS, J-Lad and Dov, with +10, +4. The other 3 are like in the 80s for EPS. There are minus negative entries, minus negative KDs, whereas for w7m, it's more of that even load where you've got 4 players, 100 EPS or more. So you can see pretty easily the Falcons, they've got a good top 2, and then it's like the next 4 go to w7m, and you're just not going to win many games of Siege if you've only got 2 players really giving it their all.
Round 1, we head into Skyscraper. Falcons versus w7m. As a reminder of the stakes to everybody, we are in the lower bracket here. So whoever loses, they pack up their bags and get on a plane and they head home. The tournament will be done for them. It is all or nothing on this, what effectively becomes a best of 1 here. Falcons were able to win Clubhouse in overtime 8-6. w7m a more comfortable win of Consulate 7-4. And we now come down to this decider. It will be Falcons on the defense, and with their attacking win rate being pretty low at the tournament, we feel that Falcons are going to need to get themselves a good start here in the first half. It's going to be tea and karaoke. Nothing too wild in terms of the picks. Robbie on the Tubarão, probably about the most interesting there. I'm thinking of, where are you going to really hold them out of a breach here? There's not too many that are drastically important. Maybe Geisha Wall, you'd argue, could be looking towards. And given that his position is there, I would have thought that it's focusing around keeping them out of Geisha. But as I say that, w7m ahead in there, so could be perfect positioning from Falcons.
You don't even have to, of course, use the Zoto canisters on walls. Could be used as a slowdown tool as well. Robbie, though, has to be mindful of the fact that there is a Montang in, and I guess maybe this is the thought process. The Zoto canister and the Nitrocell combination, but he's doing quite a lot, and there's so much pressure inside of Geisha that Timmy just gets overwhelmed.
I think that's going to be W7M's game plan on the attack here is don't give Falcons a minute to breathe. Just get right up in their faces, get aggressive. 3 kills already inside of the round. Diffuser going down. They are not messing about here. Jalad manages to get 1 onto Volks, but 2 versus 4. Plant confirmed. All up to Jalad now. It's going to be an ace or nothing. We've already seen him. We've already seen him ace once. Is it likely to happen again? I would say no. As the Monty is up in his face, Lobin takes him down. W7M, they take a very comfortable first round, and this is why I say coming into this one, it feels like W7M have a real edge now and could well be the ones pushing on in the tournament at the end of this.
It's only 1 round, Tim. It's only 1 round. We say that trope a lot, but it's the manner. I agree. That's where I was going. We're on the same page, and then that's... Dash in chat was like, who is Tuberau? Bro, ... That
Tuberau.
That was Robbie.
He got overwhelmed there.
No. He
got
panicked a little bit.
And
yeah, it's the manner in how they won that round. It's concerning. We were kind of talking a little bit pre-match about you need to go and get those defensive rounds if you are Falcons, because I just don't trust them on the attack of Skyscraper. And on the first round, on the primary bomb site, W7M just walked through the front door. I mean, it was just far too easy. Far too easy pressure into Geisha. Far too easy to just completely push Falcons' defense apart. And yeah, I mean, that was just the catalyst to the round was probably Robbie. He wasn't the only one, but it was the catalyst.
This is it. Like, Robbie comes around the corner there, probably thinking, right, maybe I get a Zoto canister on that wall. And he's like, oh, Monty's right in my face. And the wall is then breached. It's in on both sides of him. And it was just downhill from there. W7M, I think, you know, really sending a message there that playtime's over. You know, we're here to move on now.
Well, if they're here to move on, this is the perfect start. An early attacking round on Skyscraper. Again, a reminder, Dark Zero waiting. The winner of this match, which will be played later today over on the A stream.
Should be, yep. Will be.
Let's slowly cook it up here on the Amari.
He's ready to go.
Yeah,
I think they're just waiting for the pressure to mount at small bar, which is what has happened. And Dodes manages to get the kill on Jalad, and that's going to be the trigger.
Where is everyone?
And there's nobody inside the side. W7M have recognised that. They've taken control. Robbie's down. This is 5v2. 5v1 effectively now. This, honestly, I said that this map could be a problem for Falcons, and right now it feels like it's going to be over quickly. The plant goes down, and they are battling back against the tide.
Wave the white flag. Someone throw the towel in. This is a horrible start for Falcons on this map of Skyscraper. W7M, so clinical. I mean, you can ask questions of the defense, rightfully so. There's always room for criticism, but in this case, it's just the plaudits you've got to give to W7M. It, to me, seems like they've got good strategy and a good game plan coming into the attacking half of Skyscraper. It seems as if they've done their homework and they understand and have a clear indication as to what is going to offset Falcons, what's going to bother them the most, and it's that in-your-face aggression. It's when we want to go, we're going to go, and Falcons just don't look ready for it. So much so, they've called a tactical timeout already. You cannot be giving up 2 defensive rounds on Skyscraper to kickstart a 3rd and final map of a series where if you lose, your time at the tournament is over.
And as I've commented already, things are not going to get any easier for Falcons in the second half of this. So this tactical timeout right now is absolutely critical. They need to come back with a couple of rounds after this. This should be their half. And as it stands, inside of 2 rounds, W7M have already hit what will have been, in their minds, I'm sure, their minimum for this. They will want at least 2 attacks or better going into the second half. If they can get 3, that's it. I can tell you now, W7M will be super confident that they get things locked out on Skyscraper, because this is a map that they are great defensively on, and they will be confident that they can get the top 2 floor sites done, get themselves 4 rounds, so 3 in the first half will signal a win at that point. Right now, I'm worried that Falcons
are going to get blown away.
Are going to get any, let alone that they're going to get the 4 that they need.
We see sometimes in this game, Tim, where a as much as we love these 3-map series that go the distance and it comes down to the final map and it's an 8-7, you can get these fizzles where the first map, W7M were good. They could have probably won that, or maybe should have won that. Credit to Falcons. They brought it back. There was great 6 of the last 7, yada, yada, yada. But then Consulate, rather one-sided. And then immediately Skyscraper to begin with, rather one-sided. So it's like the only real tussle, the only really war of attrition has been on one map, and that one map was incredibly close. An 8-6 victory. It maybe feels as if we're getting a result that, yes, it's going to end up maybe being a 2-1, that maybe could have been a 2-0, and W7M were just largely the better team, but it couldn't quite get it done on one particular map. It's why we don't play best of ones at this point in the tournament.
Exactly. Looking at the numbers as well, you know, they back up what I'm saying. If you look at Team Falcons, since the beginning of November on Skyscraper, they've played it 3 times. Their attacking win rate is down at 35% on this map. Out of 14 rounds, they've only won 5 of them. So this is where I say the defense is so important. They're normally very good. 14 out of 18 rounds defensively they have won on Skyscraper over those 3 games. So, you know, 77% win rate. That is not transferring to what we're seeing today.
And so far at the tournament, it's the most defensive-sided map with also an only 8% plant rate, which is by far and away the lowest, and it's not even close. In fact, the next one that's lower is on Clubhouse at 19%. A massive discrepancy, and again highlighting how difficult it is and has been to attack on this map at this tournament. Yet for W7M with that kill from Volbs, they're making it look too easy. They're making it look as if all of these statistics are wrong. As Robbie makes his way up Black Stairs, he's only met by bullets to the face from Volbs, who's now 5-1. And I remember I just said the 8% plant rate.
So difficult to plant.
And there's a plant for W7M as they clean house above. Far too easy for W7M. The Montreal Major Champions are starting to find that consistency, Tim, that we spoke about at the start of this series, that we talked about. There wasn't a lot of consistency from these two teams. They're starting to find it, and they're starting to find some momentum that at this point they could very well take up against against Dark Zero.
It just looks like men against boys at the minute, in reality. They're just not operating on the same level right now. You know, you quite rightly pick up on that stat, 8% plant rate over the tournament for Skyscraper. W7M at the minute have got 100% plant rate. They are just walking in, putting the case down. There is very little resistance coming out of Falcons, and it must be weighing on them now. It will become, you know, a self-fulfilling prophecy in itself, in that they will start surely believing that they're not going to get any rounds. You start worrying about that. It must creep into the minds of the players that that's how it's going to go.
0-3, 0-3, 0-3, 0-3. There were no errors in there. 4 players for Falcons that are 0-3. J-Lad, the only one with a kill, and it's only the 2 kills, and even he's still at a negative. This is a demolition job.
At the minute,
we're watching a wrecking crew go through an old building that needs knocking down, and it's Falcons that's playing the role of the old building that's getting knocked down. Which is disappointing, but it's good for W7M to take into the next series if this is how this match is going to finish.
They're going to have a tough match next round against Dark Zero. There's no 2 ways about it. We'll be covering that one ourselves later on. And they need, after the first 2 maps they've had, I think it just goes to show, you know, exactly what we said about those first 2 maps was right. These were 2 maps that these teams don't play, and they were just kind of happy to say, right, okay, we'll just go with it if that's what you want to do. But coming in here to a map that W7M are obviously more comfortable with, this has just been an absolute slaughter so far. They know that there's one up above, going to get the kill. It's just so casual.
How is Robbie
so casual using the deployable shield now? They might have just a little bit more of a chance to get something going up at the top there. Guards does take down Lobin, and they continue battling from drum stairs. Dots is low health. Dodes has taken a little bit of damage, and some onto Volps as well. W7M certainly not able to run away with this in quite the same fashion that they have so far.
They've got to win this round. They've got to capitalize on J-Lad's performance so far on Skyscraper as he finds another one. He's the one that maybe could just set a fire under their bellies. Finally, Falcons are on the board here on the 3rd and final map of this lower bracket elimination game. But is it far too late, Tim? That's the issue. They've already given up far too many rounds to W7M.
That leaves us now J-Lad 1, W7M 3. And I think that's the real key for Falcons here, is they need some other people getting themselves online. We've spoken about Robbie. It's been up and down at the tournament. It's been up and down today, and they really need an up right now. They really need a big performance. Dover, I came in and I said, you know, how it was all Jalad and Dover, particularly today. They were doing really, really well. And now 0 kills in 4 rounds. It's just not enough for Falcons to be able to challenge W7M here. So we continue on. We continue on the defense. Falcons, it is, in my mind, essential that they get the next 2. As I said, since November, they've played this map 3 times. They've got a 37% win rate on the attack. So it's already going to have to be a better performance than they would normally deliver on Skyscraper attack for them to be able to continue here at the Six Invitational 2025. Every round they lose now on the defense just makes that a bigger and bigger challenge.
Yeah, it's not as if Falcons don't have the capabilities of bringing it back from a rather uneven deficit. We say these things as really just to set the tone and sort of set the idea of the difficulty level. You know, if it's a 4-2 half in favor of W7M from here, that is a win for them. That doesn't mean it's impossible for Falcons to get back and still win the map, but they find themselves at a rather large deficit, and that's really all we're kind of displaying. The Falcons, if they can at least get it to that 3-3, that's making the most of a rather bad situation to begin 0-3 on your defensive sky. If you could at least then find 3 in a row, maybe you can do something later on in the second half to offset what has been a rather difficult start. But W7M, I don't imagine they're suddenly going to take the foot off of the accelerator. They will probably go and double down on this pace, look to continue to put the pressure onto Falcons, as Guards is already down to half health as well to begin this 5th round.
That's just going to be sending the drones in, have a little look across that top floor, see if there's any ground that they can get themselves on into to start working across on the clearance. As it is pressure towards, I would imagine, Geisha and Terrace, and then try to get the breach off and try to work themselves into a position to put the diffuser down. They've been able to do that in 3 out of 4 rounds so far of W7M, far surpassing the plant statistics that we've seen so far here on Skyscraper. They've got all the utility they need. They've got the flashes. They've still got an impact EMP if there's any mute jammers that need clearing, and they've got themselves an opening kill as well. Working in from Geisha. Dash picks up on Jalad. And that is going to force Falcons here to find something from somebody else.
All good fight back from Dov. He's found 2. First 2 kills for him, and a 3rd as well. In this single round from 0-3 to 3-3, and certainly in a timely fashion with Volts now on the 1 versus 2. There is plenty of time. He doesn't have to rush forward. He's got 50 seconds to navigate through this situation. Knows where they both are, but it's a 4th from Dov in this round. Falcons are fighting.
I feel like that couldn't have maybe happened better. Jalad getting taken out on the entry there, kind of, like I said at the time, forced everybody else to step up and to close the round out, and that's what they needed. They needed people to be getting these kills to get them into the game. I said coming into it, Dov was on 0 kills. He's just picked up a 4K. That's absolutely massive. It just might well get who has been the 2nd-rated player overall for Falcons in this matchup firing again, and just give them something to work from. W7M, they're going to be looking for 1 more successful attack. They'll be happy with the 3 they've got. If they can get this one, they will feel supremely confident coming into the second half. It's going to be Karaoke and T. They've won this site twice on the attack. It's been a failure for Falcons to hold on to this. I think they just need to fight them at the boundaries a little bit more. W7M have been able to get inside of the map, get themselves established, and to work forward from those positions far too easily. I want to see Falcons present over in Office and Exhibition. They're setting it up now. Keep yourself dug in over there, because it prevents them just walking into Geisha, just walking into Terrace, for example, and taking the ground from there. Keep yourself over here. Don't overcommit to the fights. Burn as much time as you can.
Heading into the 6th round, it's been 5 opening kills straight for W7M. Despite that, and despite the lead, Falcons still have 2 rounds on the board, and a huge round from Dov getting the 4K. It's kind of like holding on to the sinking ship. They're not quite ready to let go and just fully capitulate. They're just holding on for dear life. They need this third round. We said it when they were down 0-3. Can you get to 3-3? Then you can reevaluate a little bit going into the second half. Then you can try and get a couple of attacking rounds of your own. I think they're still a long way back. They're still in a really bad position, but it could have been much worse. And it can still be, but it could still be a little bit better if you can get this third round, offset things a little bit. And there you go. First time opening pick. Advantage Falcons for the first time in this entire half where they actually have the 5-on-4 to kickstart this 6th round, getting rid of Dash, getting rid of the Capitao. That's a lot of utility that you have removed from the attacking team.
Yeah, Falcons have done an amazing job to stand up to the onslaught, to the pressure that w7m were bringing along. They've done a good job here of keeping themselves in positions extended out towards that other side of the map so that w7m haven't been able to just take full map control. Hasham does get taken down on the dock despite trying to get himself back up. They were there ready and waiting to pounce. w7m 4v4 now, but still not established inside of the map. You can see 2 players still outside of the map, still yet to join their teammates, and that is a key factor for Falcons. As you can see, w7m just start walking into trouble. I think it was the Capcan traps.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, the EDDs. There was an explosion, I'm pretty sure I heard go off, and that's a big mistake from w7m for Falcons. You know, don't interrupt your enemy when they're busy making mistakes.
That's true. 60 seconds left, 4 versus 4. One of the closer rounds that we've had in the first half, as Dodes will get finished off, and Loban at the same time as well. Just as Dots wanted to set up with the Kawan Hive launcher with the Grimbees to try and clear out some positions of Falcons. Now Dots just has to force his way up Black Stairs, play alongside Volps. They do have the diffuser, but they find themselves a long way back in this round. Well, there is a Frost Map this time, and Volps will go down at the hands of it. Robbie finally on the board as well with his first kill. It's taken a while, but Falcons have got themselves back into this map from 0-3 down to 3-3 tied up. We are even on the final map of this elimination game. 3 apiece.
It's been such a crazy game because the amount of times that you feel like the momentum is shifting in the direction of one team, and generally it's w7m that it feels like it's shifting in their direction, and then all of a sudden we're forced to eat our words. Yep. We come in saying how w7m might cruise away with this. They're probably going to just lock it down from here, and then Falcons say, nah, you know what? We've got something to say about that. They come back with a little flourish of their own. 3-3, and these next 2 rounds for me are going to be so critical. w7m start on exhibition. I have spoken at length. 37% attacking win rate for Falcons on Skyscraper the last 3 times they've played it. They struggle on the attack of this map. All w7m have got to do is lock down these 2 top floor sites.
Yeah, you've set the stakes really nicely, Tim, and that was going back to the start coming into this map as well, and why it was such a disaster for w7m to win the first 3 rounds for Falcons. Now that they've at least got themselves back into a 3-3 position, if you can go and find some attacking rounds early, not only do you get those attacking rounds, but you've coupled that with the momentum of bringing back the first half. So if you go and win, say, the first 2 attacking rounds of this half, that's 5 rounds in a row. That's already 2 attacking rounds. You're only 1 round away then from potentially OT. So Falcons are not as far away from this as you may think, despite their inability to attack, on this map. There's every possibility. w7m need to still be perfect. You make mistakes, Falcons can punish that. You don't want to give them a look in. But w7m, this is where they need to be clinical. They don't need to go heavy roam. They don't need to do any, innocuous flanks. You can play rather default on Skyscraper and force Falcons to attack into you. You want to force Falcons to attack, not you attacking them.
Just holding the vertical down onto the window here. w7m making it very difficult for Falcons to get on inside of the building. We're a minute in. They don't have boots on the ground yet anywhere inside of the map. We're going to see the Bandit battery go back onto the wall. That's going to keep them from breaching VIP. Looks like Falcons are going to be rotating around, looking to get themselves into T and Karaoke side instead and work their way across. But w7m, they are prepped and ready for that as well. Can Falcons get the value they need out of this Monty? Looking across their lineup, that's going to be a big part of the push. And Guards has just taken a lot of damage.
Yeah, I think that's almost probably worse for Falcons than even losing Robbie.
Yep.
The fact that Guards is now quite vulnerable moving forward. Dodes making the run across through T. Does escape.
3 nitros on side as well for W7M. When you look at Guards' health, he's going to be so easily dealt with by just one of those utility pieces, one of those explosives going across. Didn't even need it.
Is there a world in which they can get him back up, though? It looks like they will. Inside a T room, triple stack here for Falcons. So pretty much where he was. Yeah. Nothing's really changed when it comes to Guards' health points moving forward for the remainder of this round. 4 versus 4, yes, but the Montaigne quite low. And as pointed out to him, those Nitro Cells lined up and ready to go for W7M. And while Falcons still have got a bit of work to do in clearing out site utility.
There's 40 seconds left to go, and they haven't been anywhere near the site yet. They haven't got any control whatsoever. There's utility stack there to play behind in the shape of 3 nitros. This is going to be a huge problem. Zoto canister as well, preventing Falcons from doing what they want to do, from breaching what they want to breach. 20 seconds left to go. They need to get moving. First nitro takes down the shield and surely breaks the back of this.
Yeah, and still 2 nitros remaining if required, but honestly, I don't even think that it will be with so little time remaining. Falcons will just have to rush into the side of which W7M then have the numbers and are certainly in better positions with utility still up. It is a slaughter. There was never any chance from Falcons in that round, and surely showcasing the difficult nature of them attacking in this half to open up 4-3 lead for W7M, and does not spell good news for Falcons moving forward. They will need to be so much better.
If you're a Falcons fan, you're going to be worried seeing that first attack. This is exactly what I was speaking about. I don't want to labour the point, but that low attacker win rate suggested a performance like that might come in the second half, and that is why the defense wasn't good enough to begin with. They haven't got themselves enough leeway. They haven't got themselves enough safety. W7M, they just need to find 2 sites they can lock down. Falcons never got near Exhibition and Office then. They never got near disrupting the defenders. I speak about it so often. The defenders will set themselves up in their prime positions. As attackers, you have to do things to force them out of those spots, to force them to play somewhere that they don't want to play, to force them away from utility that they are reliant upon. And Falcons didn't do any of that. And that is a big problem for them. It's something they need to focus on here. So, you ask me, how are they going to do that? Well, Falcons, you got to go in and take top floor. Get Geisha, get Karaoke, get that floor opened up, and that's what's going to move the defenders. That's what's going to force them onto the back foot. Get those entries, get those top floor kills, get them cleared out, and then start forcing them away from site. Make it uncomfortable.
Easier said than done, though, Tim. And while they do need them, they've been struggling in that department quite significantly. -7 on the entry for Robbie, -3 on the entry for Hashem. JLad, though, he's been good. At least now has positive entry, and so does Dov. Again, it's just JLad and Dov in every single round for Falcons.
And they've taken the Warden down. That's really big. Again, it plays into what I'm saying. The defenders set themselves up in their prime spots with the utility they want.
Oh, misdrawn.
Completely misdrawn. They want that Warden utility. They want to be able to use those glasses to play behind smokes, to be able to play behind flashes and still be in the prime spot. And they can't do that anymore. So Falcons can start to build from there. They can start to take ground. They can start to pressure them out of there. Dots is taking a lot of damage as well. Gordes is falling back. This is good from Falcons on the attack.
This is better. But there's still more to do. That's the issue. It's not a super comfortable position to be in right now. All it takes is one little off-angle position or getting stalled out from Kiva barriers and gas babes and the Vulcan canisters. Valcam's still in play. You've still got impacts. 90 seconds, then it becomes the time factor. So all of these things Falcons need to manage.
I don't think they're using the Deimos effectively enough here either. 2 scans are available from Robbie. You can get those Deathmark trackers out. Find players on the top floor. You've seen the Azami up there. Get a track on him. Force Gordes away or force him to take the fight. Lose his life because you've got every advantage. We see the track come in. Can they do anything with it? That's the next question.
And he has the 2 options available, either Volps or Loban. 1 minute remaining, and they lose JLad. They don't need the ace, but they do want J-Lad. They want the player alive. And with that, they also lose their advantage. And now they're starting to lose time.
They still haven't got top floor. That's the big problem. 45 seconds left to go. They're still battling people up here. w7m have now taken the choice to drop away, but Dordes manages to find another before they can cut him down. 2 versus 3. And what utility do they really have now to affect sight? They can use the Deathmark tracker, but that's about all. They don't have a Dokkaebi call. They don't have any soft breach or anything else. They're going to have to find kills. Robbie manages to take down Volps. 20 seconds. Can Dots hold on?
Well, it's going to be a difficult ask now, especially with the Montaigne. Guards will look to get the plant down. As you mentioned, low on time remaining in this round. Dots trying to play very much with the fact that he's getting shot at, but then needs to deny the plants. Too much to do cooking inside of the kitchen. He was at the end with the flames up, and it is Falcons that find an attacking round and just gives them and their fans that little bit of hope that maybe they could do something special in this second half. All tied up 4-4, Tim.
They've done what they needed to do. They've forced, they weren't necessarily maybe aggressive enough with it or quick enough with it. In some cases, they might have found themselves struggling to get things done on site because it was left so late in the round, but they got enough kills to counteract that, to allow for that. So it wasn't the end of the world for them, but they went in, and again, those defenders were not allowed to play in the spots that they chose. They were forced away. We saw that. We saw this army having to back off and back off and back off. Dordes was forced all the way from small bar right the way across the top of the map over to Geisha. We saw the Valkyrie having to drop down from drum into restaurant because they were being forced away. They were being disrupted, and that's what Falcons need to do on the attack. They need to disrupt w7m.
In fairness, I don't want to take away from the pleasantries for Falcons, but it was the tertiary site, barbecue and kitchen, right? So if you're going to win a site as the attacking team on Skyscraper, it's typically that one. It's the primary sites, though, at some point that will need to be won by Falcons. T-Room Karaoke offers an exhibition, and away we go over towards T-Room and Karaoke now for the 9th round. All tied up 4-4. You win this one, I will start to believe.
Yes, this is the big key. And look at what they brought along. Dots is on the clash. They've recognised that the Monty has been causing them significant problems, particularly in the last round. They didn't really have an answer to that march across the top floor. And then in the 1v3 with a Monty in sight, it's practically unwinnable at that point for the defenders. So this time they bring along the clash. You want to play the Monty? That's absolutely fine by us. We will just get clash up in your face. For anybody who doesn't know, the electricity works through Monty's shield. So clash is the perfect counter. If those two face up to each other, the clash will almost always win. But Monty is going in underneath. The clash is at top black at the minute. It just depends. They've got somebody on both sides of them.
That's what I was going to say.
Where do they focus here?
Can you pinch the clash? Can you get someone out in the balcony while the Montagne's pushing in from black stairs? But you can see the positioning of Dots back into the corner so that he can't get shot from either side. And he knows full well as well the Montagne's not as much of a threat.
He needed support there, and he gets it as the player comes across. It's going to be Volps looking to help him, but he's going to be cut down, and this is the problem with this position, and Falcons have created this crossfire brilliantly.
They felt like the clash was in danger, so they sent Volps over, but then all that meant was Volps was in danger, and he loses his life, and Dots almost has to start to give this up now, because you can't send someone else over who's already died. This is Blackstairs control for Falcons, plus the player advantage.
Dots needs to be really careful trying to come in to do something about the Monty here. He can move in and play here, but the soft floor underneath, you saw immediately Gillard moving underneath to try and be able to challenge him. There's one on the window as well. Robbie does get taken down by a Nitro. 4 versus 4, but there are crossfires everywhere for w7m to be cautious of here.
Dots just trying to maintain as much control towards the side, and in the blink of an eye, just like that, despite a round in which Falcons seemed like they were getting some semblance of control, they lose 2. Knife killed though from Guards onto Dots. The clash is done. The Monty wins the battle, but winning the war is w7m. As Guards falls, it's down to Dov, who needs the 1 versus 3. But he can't find even a single kill as w7m hold on the primary site and go 5-4 up.
I feel for Falcons after that one. They did everything right. They recognised where the clash was. They created a brilliant pinch. They also had the player on karaoke window as well, so the clash's movement was so heavily restricted. They tried to get themselves into the default plant spot to face up to the Monty, but immediately Jalad was moving underneath. Yeah, you want to do that? I'm going to get underneath. I'm going to shoot you through that soft floor. And w7m just didn't. It was like they were playing on hot coals. There was just, the floor was lava. There was nowhere that they could stand safely. Volps was cut down when he tried to assist, but for Falcons, they were just unfortunate that as they tried to push in for those final positions, for that stage 3, for that execute to get the plant down, the backline of w7m stepped up. And they had the long angles held where they didn't need to play into those crossfires, and they were able to get their picks, to get their kills, and to cut Falcons down as they moved into that final stage of the round. It was a tough one for Falcons to take. It was so close. Like you say, the top 2 floors are going to be the key areas. We move back across to Office and Exhibition. w7m, they won it very comfortably last time. Falcons pushed across from Karaoke T, didn't ever really get anywhere near sight. So w7m are sure come in with a reasonable amount of confidence.
And they are now 2 rounds away from progressing forward here at the Six Invitational and sending Falcons home. Then that scoreboard pressure now becomes a mental feature for both of the 2 teams. w7m, you win this next round, now you have the safety blanket of overtime, so maybe you can be a little bit more aggressive. For Falcons, now you're stressing a little bit. You look up and you think, geez, we could be going home in 5-10 minutes. We have to be perfect. We can't make mistakes. When you start to think like that, you hesitate a little bit. You don't want to make those mistakes, so you start to question. You can't be losing. J-Lad, he needs to win this battle or at least stay alive, but so low health now, and while it's not an opening kill, it's a good start to the round for w7m.
Yeah, the problem is there's so little now that Jalad can really do through the round, but the same could be said of Lobin as he takes damage from the repelled player, looking to get the Goo-Mine onto the balcony just to do anything they can to try and stop this push from Falcons. But again, this is Falcons doing what I was speaking about. By getting that breach open, it starts to disrupt the players inside. They can't hold the initial positions that they were looking to. The air jabs will do the same. It's forcing them deeper. You can see no silhouettes on the left of your screen there. They've all been pushed back. Dove manages to pick up Volps. That's a good entry as well. 5 versus 4. The Azami gone. Kiba barricades will not be deployed anymore. This is winnable for Falcons.
Lost the Monty though. That's not ideal for Falcons. You know, if it had been J-Lad, you can understand that. Low health doesn't matter. But now you've lost an aid in your entry towards the site, of which the Montaigne can, of course, really push forward. Tries to go VIP, dies, hit in a bad spot. So suddenly, with a minute left, you've got to salvage the round. Big kill from Robbie, still has 2 Candelas. And J-Lad, despite so low health, is able to make such a big impact. And with that, Falcons go on and take this round.
This is so much closer than we expected it to be. But Dordes, you've got questions to answer there. Just overly aggressive. He doesn't need to run into VIP breach like that. He's got a player back in Dragon who's watching it. That's an angle heist. And it's not worked out for him. He's decided to get himself involved in a fight to try and stop them getting the diffuser, which he can hold from the position that he is in anyway. He doesn't need to go into the breach. And as soon as he does, they start falling one after another. Falcons get themselves a really important site win. It's not just about the round, it's about the site. Getting the win in Exhibition Office on the attack is a big one for them.
Well, so much about that 33% attacker win rate. Suddenly they've gone and found 2
Falcons
attacking
don't
rounds.
care about the numbers.
They only need 1 more, and it's OT minimum, and suddenly pressure on for both teams for 2 very different reasons. All tied up. 3rd and final map. One of these 2 teams, Tim, is getting ready to pack their bags and probably head to the airport tomorrow in about 10-15 minutes. There's not a lot of time left for one of these 2 at the tournament. And yeah, I don't think right now we are closer to understanding who it will be. Falcons have shown just enough on the attack that I start to believe they could very well find at least the 6th round required for overtime. For w7m, it would be a disaster if the Montreal Major champions are eliminated this early at Six Invitational.
It's a similar setup, or almost an identical setup, coming out of w7m. It Shows that they've obviously got some confidence in what they were doing. This time they've got the Tuburai rather than the Oryx. That's one of the major differences, and they were going to bandit over the Goyo. So they're going to have a little bit less in terms of denial when it comes to area denial with those Vulcan canisters, but instead they may have a little bit more breach denial this time. However, hasn't really slowed down Falcons at all as they get straight on to that geisha wall and get it open.
You can see Norris in the background. He's just looking on. It's all you can really do at the moment. A stressful situation for both sets of fans. Falcons, you have to honestly start to give them a bit of credit for the way they fought back. It was a 3-0 start. Things were looking awful, but the job's nowhere near done. And with Loban finding the pick onto Hashem, no Dockerby for the remainder of this 11th round. You lose a little bit of that entry help. And with that pick, w7m find themselves in the advantageous position. But Robbie's starting to make far more of an impact here on Skyscraper. He's starting to get involved in comparison to Consulate. His guards pushing through T-Room on the Montang. Bots losing his life. Robbie starting to activate, and Dov, who's already been activated for the whole series. The one caveat to this though, Tim, is Robbie and Dov are very low on health, but as it stands, Falcons with an ever so slight advantage.
They have the Monty as well, still with the case in hand. That could create a real power move opportunity for them, for guards to be able to go in and bully these remaining defenders. They need to get him delivered to the right location here. They've got a minute left to go. He's out in Shrine. He's going to work his way across the VIP and apply some pressure. The Tuburai will meet him head-to-head out there. Dordes is going to have to hold back this push, and he does. He takes down the low HP Dov. And that leaves the Monty alone, isolated. w7m, if they recognize this, they could push him aggressively, potentially. It would be a big risk, but it's an option.
Oh, a chance, and Loban just goes wandering through the doorway for no reason whatsoever. You can hold sight. Gives the chance to Falcons, and they certainly take it with no qualms. Robbie's low, so he plays exterior, he plays outside, trying to maybe offer that crossfire into the last 10 seconds now in a 3-on-2. Who can get match point?
They're just going to have to try and work something here, Falcons. They've got to get aggressive with this Monty. Guards has got to go in. But before he does, Jalad and Robbie find a kill apiece. And w7m unexpectedly find themselves one round away, Jake. Just one round away from exiting the Six Invitational 2025.
Tactical timeout for w7m. The Montreal major champions of only a couple of short months ago are on the verge of being eliminated from Six Invitational at such an early point in the lower bracket, round 1. You can't surely be having a major champion get dispelled from the tournament this early. They are down 6-5, tactical timeout. Falcons will get one opportunity. Otherwise, of course, overtime will be waiting. And I have just double-checked as well, Tim, for the sake of confirmation, w7m double defense in OT. If you're Falcons, this is your best chance to wrap this series up. You don't probably want this to go to overtime because you don't have double defense, but admittedly, they've won 3 rounds on attack and 3 rounds on defense anyway. I don't think it matters to Falcons.
Look, I'll hold my hands up. I was a Falcons doubter coming into this. I really thought, given the way that Consulate finished and that w7m really felt like they'd figured them out, really felt like they'd just settled into a groove that the Falcons were just struggling to dance with. I thought they would struggle here on Skyscraper, but no. On the attacking half, they have overcome the odds. 37% across the last 3 times they have played this map. They now play one of the best defensive teams in the world on it. And what happens? They find a way.
It's staggering. Absolutely staggering the way this is playing out. This is also the first time on Skyscraper that Falcons are leading in the match itself. Tim, I remind you, this map for w7m over the last 4 or 5 months is statistically their best map at defending, with basically an 80% defensive win rate, and they have allowed Falcons already 3 attacking rounds. Yeah, at this juncture of the tournament, that is staggering. But it's by no means over 6-5, one chance for Falcons here in regulation to send the Montreal Major champions home. We shall see if they can do just that or if overtime is required. And if I'm correct, Tim, I don't think you've had a 3-map OT.
Not with Des.
Not with Des. Be a bit like cheating on him.
We'll have to see how generous Fresh is feeling on his bingo card. W7M have got approximately 2 minutes to save themselves here at the Six Invitational. After winning the Montreal Major, many will have expected them to be in the live finals as an absolute minimum. Maybe even heading for a grand final. Maybe even heading for the title itself. But right now, all that matters is this round. Once again, Guards is on the Monty. Falcons have had some real value out of that operator over the last couple of rounds. w7m have tried the clash to deal with it previously. They tried it on the Karaoke T defense. It didn't work out.
It's only 90 seconds. Where is this round gone in terms of time? I mean, Falcons need to probably pick up the pace a little bit here. Certainly being no trash talk on Skyscraper in comparison to the opening 2 maps. Everyone's a bit more quiet, locked in, focused in. They know what is at stake. Falcons have just cooled things down a little bit in this one and only match point round. They have never led here on Skyscraper until this moment now. This is the first round in which this team actually leads on the scoreboard, and it's the most important time to do it.
Could all come down to this as they try to rush on into sight. 55 seconds. They're not worried about the clock. They're worried about the kills. The double nitro from Vopes is huge. But Sham, he fights back. He takes him down with the trade 4 versus 3. w7m just trying to cling on at the minute. But Guards finds Torres. They find more value out of the Monty. Jalad again. He has been the hero so many times. It leaves Lobin in a tough spot and taken down. Falcons get the win. And w7m are sent packing.
I can't believe that ace. 7-5, and Falcons found the attacking power required seemingly out of nowhere. The statistics that Jesse's always harping on about has been broken here as Falcons defeat w7m in a 3-map long-standing series, and the Montreal Major champions are heading home.
It's the emotion of the moment for w7m. Their hearts
from the highs to the lows.
Exactly
in
that.
2-3 months, Tim.
Yeah. Hearts have been broken today. All across Brazil, I am certain, a well-supported team. Falcons come around with commiserations, of course.
Devastation for w7m, and you just can't help but have that choked up feeling for them watching them.
Well, this spells out exactly what we're here for. This spells out how much it means to these players. Falcons, an unexpected victory. Fantastic result for them, and they really did have to earn it. It wasn't easy for them.
All right, Falcons, you can see the jubilation from their perspective. Unfortunately, on the other side for w7m, it's time to head home for the Montreal Major champions. Their time is done. For Falcons, they move forward to take on Dark Zero later today. For our short break, we'll come back, break things down, but a huge win for Falcons.